Summary.
Ella Cassidy is human, living in the small town of Forest Glen. She works at a little diner there. Her customers are mostly wolves. It's just her and her stepfather in the house now. Her mother disappeared 5 years ago. Ella knew she was running off with the man she'd seen in her visions. Yes, Ella is clairvoyant. She just never sees her own life. She has 4 months before her 18th birthday and she can get away from Fred, for good. Matthew Landon is the local alpha. Their pack is about 30 miles north of Forest Glen. He is seldom in town, but he sends his beta, Maverick, in to check on the lone wolves. Maverick has become friends with Ella, much to Fred's dismay. He demanded she never be friends with wolves, like she would listen to him. Anyway, Ella knows danger is coming her way. Her sight tells her that much. It's up to her to figure it out, before it happens.
Chapter 1. The Diner It Is.
It's a typical night at the diner for Ella. Dinner rush, then practically nothing. She was finishing closing out the cash register when Danny came out of the kitchen and told her she could leave. She grabbed a to-go cup of soda and, yelling goodnight, walked out to walk the 20 minutes home. Halfway home, she heard crashing through the underbrush. A huge man came crashing out onto the pavement in front of her. With an oof, Ella rushed to him. With a huge gash, a deep wound on the side of his head, he moaned out, "Hide me. I can't fight them like this." She immediately helped him to his feet and wrapped an arm around his waist. Leading him toward her house, 3 men crashed through the bushes behind her. She spun around. As they started advancing, she stood still, allowing the man she had been helping slide to the ground. She sighed, "I have been trained in street fighting my whole damned life. I won't go easy." The men laughed and charged all at once, kicking the biggest one in the solar plexus. She stabbed another in the eye with a dagger and sliced the jugular of the third as the first guy ran off. She helped the man off the sidewalk and brought him to her house. Once he was laid out on her couch, she grabbed what she needed to clean the wound. After getting the wound abraded and bandaged, she washed his face free of blood. She smiled. He really is a handsome specimen. His eyes opened, and he looked at her for a long minute. "Where am I? What happened?" Then promptly fell back to sleep. Ella laughed. When Fred came home, he started raising hell about a strange man in his house. Ella said, "Your house? I pay the bills in this shithole. It's my house. That man is injured, and until he wakes up and I have someone to call, he is staying put." Fred called her a whore and tried slapping her. She grabbed his wrist and asked, "What did I tell you on my 15th birthday? Ever touch me again, and I will kill you. Now leave me to watch over my patient." She dozed off and on all night, sitting in a chair beside the man. He moaned off and on, and she would rouse him enough to swallow a pain pill with some water. As the rosy fingers of dawn lit up the inside of her dreary cabin, she moved to put coffee on. She was going to need a gallon of the stuff today. She had just sat down with a cup when the man sat bolt upright. He grabbed his head and roared. Ella jumped up and pulled his head into her chest, calming him down. Ella leaned him back against the couch and said, "The wound was pretty bad. With your healing, it's still going to take a couple days. Moving too quickly will induce immediate excruciating pain." He asked, "Where am I? What happened to me?" Ella sat down beside him. "You were attacked last night. I only saw 3, but judging by your size, there had to be more than that." He was shaking his head. I don't remember any of that." Ella whispered, "Well, what do you remember? Let's start simply. Do you know your name?" He said, "Yeah, I know who I am, but I can't remember past dinner." Ella nodded and said, "It was a substantial head wound. Amnesia isn't to be unexpected. Rest today. I'm sure it will return as you heal." She went to get more coffee when he stopped her with, "Can you call my beta and let him know where I am?" Ella asked for the number and beta's name. When he said Maverick, She knew who the strange man was on her couch. Alpha Matthew Landon. Her thoughts ran rampant. Shit. I brought an important alpha to this fucking dump. Humiliated. I didn't think he was an alpha. Why didn't I know he was an alpha? They should all wear name tags or something. Hello? I'm Alpha Landon. That would work. I mean, fuck. Matthew was laughing. He asked, "Think out loud much? I honestly am not so shallow. I would judge anything about you. I am grateful. I have a very strong feeling that I would have been dead, if not for you. So thank you." Ella called Maverick and let him know what her version of events of last night was. She also told him he may want to search the forest leading up to Baylor Road. A couple hours later, Maverick knocked on Ella's door. She let him in, as well as a doctor and 2 other people. The man looked just like Matthew. The woman walked over and took Ella's hand. "I'm Jolene, Matthew's mother. The gentleman is his father, Blake. You have our eternal gratitude for what you did for our son. If you ever have need of us, for any reason, we will not hesitate." That foreboding feeling washed over Ella again. She had a feeling she may need their help one day. She wished her own life came to her in visions like others did. The doctor rebandaged Matthew's wound and got him ready to lay down on a gurney. As they rolled him past Ella, he reached out and took her hand. "I didn't even get your name. Will you come to the pack house tomorrow and give a detailed report of what happened?" Ella nodded and smiled. "Ella Cassidy. And I will be there about 10. Can't do it later. I have to work at 2. After everyone had gone, she went upstairs and showered. Climbing under her covers, she fell asleep for several hours. When she went downstairs to fix a little dinner, Fred was at the table. He growled, "I told you to stay away from those stinking wolves." Ella hadn't had enough sleep. She was always cranky when she was tired. She glared at him. "You are not my dad. Fuck. You're barely a guardian. When I turn 18, I want you out of my house. I pay all the bills here. That state check you get for being my guardian gets spent on whores and booze. So, do not ever tell me who I can talk to or be friends with." She slammed out of the house, then remembered she hadn't eaten. Oh well, the diner it is.
Chapter 2, Not Helping at All. Matthew's POV.
My head is pounding, not like it was, but enough to remind me it's there. I slept several hours when we got back to the pack house. Mom even called Ari and Gaby home from their packs. Their mates stayed at home. I walked into my office to find it packed with people. I asked, "A party?" And I wasn't invited. "I think we can fit a couple more people in here." Ari smirked, a hit so hard his memory is absent, but didn't affect his sarcasm. They all laughed, and I mumbled, "It isn't funny. It's frustrating as fuck." I remember eating dinner, coming to my office. Then nothing. I can't find my phone. I thought maybe I got a call or a text and went out. I don't know, guys. I'm grasping at straws. Mom jumped up and said, "Doc is on her way. I want her to draw some blood and test it. It's been less than 24 hours, so any drug will still be in your system. The way you're acting, I think someone drugged you." I said, "Who, though? I don't even remember leaving home." Dad said, "Let's pull up our video feed from last night. There's got to be a clue." As we watched, an hour before dinner, we saw a figure enter my office, go to the liquor decanters and pour something into the Jamesons, then leave, always careful to not face the camera. We watched as I came in, poured a drink, and sat down, going over paperwork. Around 10 minutes later, I was sweating and fidgeting. I loosened my tie, rolled my sleeves up. My phone lit up, and I answered. A video was played. I played it again, then threw my phone, stumbling out of my office and out the front door. I took off running towards town. No one saw me? No one tried to stop me? What the fuck? Then we watched that same person came back in my office, empty the Jameson decanter, and rinse it out. Before putting more back in it, Mom was moving cushions, pulling out bookshelves. I asked, "Mom, what are you doing?" She huffed, and we hear her, "Kids always asking obvious shit. What am I doing?" He wants to know what I'm doing. I'm hunting down a phone, Einstein. Dad said, "Did you mean to say that out loud?" She moans, "No, I didn't mean you're stupid, son." I laughed and told her, "Thanks, Mom. Good to know." She holds up my phone with a triumphant grin. It powered on, and the video was still open. She played it, and it was Mom, being tortured and crying. Then a voice said, "If you ever want to see your mom again, meet me at the east border alone. Now." I looked at Dalton. Can you see where that video originated? Now my eyes are sober. I can see it's CGI, not a bad one, but clear enough. They blurred the images enough to make it look like a grainy video. Probably why I watched it twice. He responded, "I will create an algorithm to run through it. Whoever it is has your phone number. We have more than one traitor to ferret out." Doc was drawing my blood, so I just nodded. "Dad, should we call Uncle Damien?" He nodded and pulled his phone out of his pocket. We all went to bed. It was going to be a busy day tomorrow. The locks on my office. A keypad entry from now on. All our offices, drugged or not. A traitor entered my office. We had just got seated at the table when Damien and Lynette walked in. She kissed my cheek and asked, "Got yourself in a little bit of a pickle the other night, yeah?" I nodded and Uncle Damien clenched my shoulder. "We will figure this out, Matt." Liam walked straight over to Marty. "Grab your plate. We are running all security videos to find where the traitor came from and where they went." Marty jumped up, slammed bacon and eggs between two pieces of toast, and took off behind him. Aunt Lynette and Mom were off to one side, whispering. So it's safe to assume they are talking about everything that we know so far. I look at the clock. I have an hour before Ella arrives, and I want to talk to my dad and Damien, so I ask them to come to my office. Damien shook his head. "Not until it's checked for listening devices. Liam is in there right now." We stepped out back, and I said, "This girl, the one who saved me, Ella Cassidy, she's human, but I think she's my mate. She isn't 18 yet, and I don't know if humans have indicators, but mine are all on point. Her scent, her voice, the sparks. How though? Have any of us been mated to humans before?" Dad nodded his head, "Not for a while, and never a ranked member that I know of. But it's happened. What are your plans?" I thought about it for a minute. It's pretty much all I have thought about. Frost snarled at me, "Don't even think it. She is my mate. I will accept no other. Ever. I want Ella." I told him to settle down. I looked at Dad and said, "She is my mate for a reason. The goddess has a plan for me, and apparently that plan includes a human mate." Damien chuckles. "Thank goddess. I was running multiple scenarios through my head, trying to come up with something to tell Lynette if you rejected your mate." Dad laughed and said, "I was going to make Matthew tell his mother and sisters." I cringed. Well, that would have sucked. I would have been flayed alive. Damien laughed. "Lynette would join them. 4 women beating the daylights out of you? Might have been worth a look-see. No kind of bro code among them. Not a one of them." Liam came out and said the rooms are clean. So at least we haven't been spied on. Still, there is a matter of someone entering and leaving my office at least twice. That can't be done without a key. Maverick announced Ella had arrived, and Frost started bouncing. Not helping the headache, buddy. Not helping at all.
Chapter 3. Thursdays are always long. Ella's POV.
I arrived at the pack house with 10 minutes to spare. Maverick met me at my door and gave me his arm. I giggled, VIP treatment for little ol' me. I declare, sir, you do make me blush. He said, shut up. I was told to escort you to Matthew's office. I was trying to be a gentleman, but you ruined it. Making me laugh. Don't pout. I don't have any lollipops in my apron. He chuckled. Parents hate that, you know. Giving their whiny crotch goblins sugar when they're in the diner. I just shrugged. I don't care. We walked into the office, and holy wall-to-wall people. Damn, am I being interrogated? I backed up, ready to flee, and Matthew said, wait. These people are my family. If you're uncomfortable, I can ask them to leave. I took a deep breath and said, no, it's fine. It just startled me. I didn't expect to see so many people. Maverick offered me a seat, and I gratefully sat down. Matthew made introductions, but it'll take me a hot minute to remember who everyone is. Damien said, how about you just tell us in your own words what happened, and we will save any questions for after you've finished. I smiled at him. There's not much to tell. I walked to and from work most nights. Danny sent me home a few minutes early, so I was walking home. As soon as I turned on Baylor, I heard crashing coming through the woods. I stopped, pulled my daggers from my bag, putting them in my boots. Then Matthew, I'm sorry, Alpha Landon, came crashing through the brush and landed at my feet. He was wounded, blood gushing from a head wound. I helped him to his feet and started to walk toward my house. 3 men came crashing out of the woods. I warned them I wasn't in the mood to be messed with. They didn't believe me, so I let the alpha down on the sidewalk and kicked the biggest guy in the chest. Felt the give, so I broke at least 5 ribs. The second guy I stabbed in the eye, all the way to his brain. Third guy slit his throat. By that time, the first one was up and running away, so I brought Alpha Landon to my house and cleaned his wound. Maverick said, we found 5 dead in the woods leading into town. We knew Frost had taken them out. A blood trail lead all the way from our borders into town. Then we found 2 more, dead in the street. Now I know what happened to them. Nice work. I inclined my head in acknowledgement, and Jolene said, you were goddess sent. Had you not been there, they would have finished him off. I smiled and told them, I was ready because I knew danger was coming. I felt it, so I was ready. Lynette tells us, you aren't fully human. I'm not sure what you are yet, but you have gifts. I'm sensing them. I laughed. I am human. My mother doesn't know who my dad is. A result of one of many drunken one-night stands. She disappeared 5 years ago, but she is human. A nasty, sorry excuse of a human, but nonetheless. Matthew asked, what are your gifts? I cleared my throat, not wanting to tell them just to have them laugh and tell me I'm crazy. Matthew said, I can heal. My mother is a child of the moon. Her wolf angel was the goddess's own wolf when she walked the earth. I am the grandson of the moon goddess. My healing power is stronger than my mother's. I can foresee the future, but never my own. My head came up sharply. I am clairvoyant. I can see the future, not mine. And for some reason, not yours. I can feel danger. Literally feel it. My joints ache. My head hurts. My nerves stand on end. I can sense evil intent. Lynette said, I knew it. You aren't fully human. We need to run your blood. Will you allow it? We can do a DNA workup. Maybe find out who your father is. I shrugged. You can run it. But I made my peace with not knowing who he is a long time ago. He planted the seed, but I doubt he even recalls my mother. She's kind of a slut. I had no say in my birth, so I refused to allow it to color who I am. Matthew said, "That's very admirable. I am really impressed at your way of thinking. How old are you, by the way?" I grinned. "I will be 18 in 3.5 months. He just nodded, like I had revealed the secrets of the universe, which struck me odd. But okay, Maverick asked. "Whose car did you drive here?" I looked up. "Oh shit, Danny's, and he needs it. Am I done here?" Jolene smiled. "Yes, as soon as we get that blood." I nodded and followed her over to the infirmary. I walked into the diner 45 minutes later, and only 10 minutes past the time I was sure to be back. Matthew texted me as I started to put my bag in my locker. Wanted to make sure you saved my number." "Me? I did. Thank you, that's my line. I will keep you updated on our investigation." "Me? Appreciate it." I clocked in and started my dinner prep. It's Thursday, and we usually get slammed twice. Once at dinner time, then again around 10, when the local school's game ends. The after-game crowd were always the same groups of people. My favorite always being the mean girl clique. They get a kick out of trying to get under my skin. I had just gotten everyone seated when the trio of girls walked in. Buffy, the ringleader, sneered my direction and said the same thing she does every week. "Is there another waitress? Your service is shit." I smile and remind her, "The cafe 2 streets over has our other server. Feel free to go there." On my 5th trip to their table, Buffy held the ketchup bottle and squirted it all over me. Saying, "Oops," the other girls tittered out their fake laugh. And the ranch dressing I held in my hand was dumped on her head, just as the door dinged. I grinned and said, "Oops." I turned to seat the door, only to find Matthew and Maverick standing there. I smiled. "Hey guys, grab a seat. I will be right back. Gotta clean up." I ran to the back, taking out a clean t-shirt and apron, rushed through washing as much ketchup off as I could. I hurried out to wait on the guys. Buffy was leaned over their table, boobs practically in Matthew's face, with him looking uncomfortable. And I was jealous. What the fuck? Why am I jealous? I stepped up to their table and set Waters down. "Buffy, go back to your own table. Or leave. I can't have you molesting the other customers." She snarled. "You don't tell me what to do. I am a paying customer. You will respect me." I laughed and said, "You never spend more than $7 for a salad you never eat and can't be bothered to tip. Betcha I would survive without your business." She tried to shoulder check me as she stomped off. I leaned hard left, and she fell on her ass. Tried saying I pushed her. I laughed. "Bitch. If I had pushed you, you wouldn't be able to stand up. Try me." I took Matthew and Maverick's orders, and when I brought their food out, Buffy was hurrying out the door. Her face beet red. I asked Maverick, "What's that about?" He chuckled. "That's how a stupid girl looks when she receives a dressing down from an alpha." I asked, "Isn't she a lone wolf?" "No alpha," Matthew replied. "Even lone wolves have to answer to an alpha." I just nodded and started cleaning tables. Thursdays are always long.
Chapter 4. What is she? Matthew's POV.
Mav and I went to the diner last night to calm Frost down. He's getting attached to his mate, and his instincts are to just take her. I'm kind of thinking she won't appreciate that a whole lot. Today, my sisters are going back to their mate. He's probably going crazy without them. I like Brayden, but I sometimes feel like he's too controlling. Damien and Lynette were waiting in my office. He immediately says, "As we suspected, you were drugged." Liam gathered all the surveillance from that night, and whoever it was came and left through the glass sliders in the kitchen. It could be anyone. I sighed. So, how do we catch them? We have 13,000 people in this pack. That's an awful lot of sorting through. Lynette mentions Ella. She can sense evil intent. What if we have a cookout tomorrow and invite her? Ask her to let us know if she feels anything. I shrug. I don't want her to feel like I am taking advantage. Will her DNA be back by then? Maybe I could use that as an excuse to invite her out. I sent her a text asking about the cookout, and she said she would come for a little while. But Saturdays are her best tip nights. When Ella showed up the next day, I realized she had to have borrowed her boss's car again. I asked, "Do you not have a car at all?" She smiled. "Nope. All my money goes into paying the bills at home. Fred has a car, but that won't last long once his check stops." I listened between the lines. "Check? He gets paid monthly for being your guardian?" She laughed. A light tinkling sound that wrapped around me. If guardian means getting drunk and paying whores, then yep. I took her hand and led her around back to where people were gathered. She groaned, "Holy fuck me running. There's gotta be 11 million people here. You can do this, Ella. Breathe. Don't think about it." I laughed at her, thinking thoughts. That's what my mom calls it. When you think out loud. I am curious, though. 11 million sounds like a lot. She grinned. "Huge crowds of people make me anxious. Being outside helps. Please don't expect me to remember all their names." I laughed. "It's impossible to remember everyone. I struggle with it, and I have been around them all my whole life." She HMM'd and wandered over to speak to Maverick. I followed, mostly because I didn't want to let her out of my sight just yet. She grinned at Mav. "What do y'all do? Think, oh, the sun's out? Let's have a picnic for 1 million people." Maverick chuckled and told her, something like that. Wolves are social creatures. A cookout is a great way to socialize and reacquaint ourselves with the pack. It makes us seem approachable in a leisurely setting. She squeaked, "Fuck, dude. I was just pissing off. And you turned it into a political opportunity." I laughed. "You did sound a little pompous there, Maeve." Calvin walked over, and I introduced him to Ella. "This is our Gamma. Ella, meet Calvin." She shook his hand and told him she was pleased to meet him. I linked Cal and told him she is my mate, but unaware of it. Even so, his job has now begun. He grinned and clapped his hands. Offering her his arm, he said, "Shall we gather you some sustenance, m'lady?" She giggled. "Sure. But just so you know, I'm more a hunter than a gatherer." He laughed outright. "Me too. Imagine that." I was standing next to Dad when I noticed Ella straighten up. Her little body shivered, and she glanced over her shoulder. Then her eyes searched for me. Finding me, she smiled shyly. Dad said, "She just felt something. Maybe check it out." I nodded and walked directly to her. I whispered, "Take my hand." As I held it out, palm up, she placed her little hand in mine, and I lead her away from the crowd to a slider swing in the back garden. I said, "I noticed your body language. Can you tell me what you were feeling?" She took a deep breath and released it on a sigh. "There is a darkness on your land. I sense danger. Evil lurks in shadows, watching and waiting. There are several, maybe 5, with extremely malevolent intentions." I processed what she said and asked, "Can you identify them? Is there some identifying method?" She shakes her head and smiles a little sadly. "Only if I touch them. Maybe you can introduce me to groups as I point out where the feeling is strongest. We have to hurry, though. It's nearly time for work." I linked Dad to let him know what we were doing, And within seconds, my warriors became more alert, standing at attention. I love the shift in our people at the idea of a threat. Ella pointed to a group of about 10 people, and I walked her over. I introduced her to each person, and she shook their hands. In turn, I noticed whenever she was getting a feeling, she held their hand a tad longer. We walked away from the first group, and she was shaking. I whispered, "Take my hand. Let me calm you." She did. Then said, "Two in that bunch. The redhead. I picked up something about stolen keys. She's frightened about something. The middle-aged man. Green flannel plaid. He is full of darkness. Anger. The rest follow his lead, like a pack within the pack." Nodding my head, I said, "That's enough for today? Would it be an imposition to ask you to spend a little more time here? I hate to ask, and I don't want you to think I am using you for your gifts. But I still remember nothing. I am flying blind, with an unknown enemy at my back." She grinned. I had made up my mind to ask if I could meet more of your pack in a relaxed setting. Visiting here would help with that. Excitement rushed through my blood. I feared she could hear my heart threatening to burst from my chest. More time with my mate? Hell yeah, after she had left to get ready for work. I told Dad and Maverick what she had picked up on. Maverick said, "Lisa, that's the redhead. I say we lean on her first. She will be easier than Mel. He's a surly son of a bitch." Dad said, "Mel is part of the group from River Run. He may still be loyal to the Taylors, or possibly he has his own agenda. Put guards on him. Your best ones at shadowing. We don't want him onto us until we have an idea who his accomplices are." The next several weeks, we all fell into a routine. Ella would visit in the mornings and stay for dinner on her days off. Maverick or I took turns driving her back and forth. The more time I spend with her, the more I realize I am falling for her. I am praying to the goddess every night now. I need Ella to recognize me as her mate. Right now, she has me friend-zoned, and I fucking hate it. Mom walked in and asked, "Will Ella be here today? The DNA results are back." And I was re-I-aided. She isn't human. Well, not entirely. Puzzled, I looked at her for a long moment. She isn't human? Then what is she?
Chapter 5. My heart already knows. Ella's POV.
I don't know how much good I am doing Matthew and his pack. I have identified 5 people that are dark and are harboring ill intent. I don't believe those 5 are acting alone, and whomever they are working with are not in the pack, I think. Maverick is driving me to the pack house for dinner night. I find myself gravitating toward Matthew more and more. I keep reminding myself he has a mate out there, so my heart has to butt out. Maverick tells me Luna Jeline has the results of your DNA test. She's asked we go straight to the office on arrival. I laugh and ask, why does it always feel like I am headed to the principal's office whenever I'm asked to go straight to Matthew's office? Maverick laughs and says, because that is exactly how it feels. When we were kids, and Blake would send for us, it was literally like marching to our doom. I followed Mav straight to the office, and I sat across from Matthew. Jeline smiles at me. You, my dear, are a pleasant surprise. Your DNA is interesting. You are most definitely not human. Neither is your mother or your father. I asked, explain, please. I know I didn't care before, but now that you know, I am finding myself most curious. It took so long for the results to come back. I just assumed nothing would come of it. Jeline said, your mother's lineage was the first to be decoded. She was a by-blow of an alpha before he found his mate. The new Luna demanded his bastard child be banished from the pack. She was given to a human family to adopt. They were given express directions to make sure she took medication twice a day for the rest of her life. That medication was wolfsbane concentrate. They muted her wolf, and she was never to be told about it. Whether she ever shifted or not, I don't know. I was shocked. I was speechless. I didn't have a single coherent thought in my brain for a few minutes. Then I said, I am a wolf? I don't have a wolf. Wouldn't I know if I had a wolf? What the fuck? This is crazy. Matthew whispered, take my hand. And I did. I clung to his hand like it was my lifeline in violent seas. He said, you are close to your 18th birthday. You have what? About 9 weeks? 2 weeks before your birthday. If you have a wolf, she will start making her presence known. If you're going to shift, it will happen the night of your birthday. Jolene said, we have found nothing on your mother for the last 5.5 years. It's like she ceased to exist. I responded. She ran off with a big brutish type. Called him Tommy. Big as he was, he could have been a wolf. Fred had been drunk for a solid week. They got into screaming matches. Physical altercations. Nearly every night. The night before she left, he beat her pretty badly. I was 13, and my memory isn't really clear. I was afraid of Fred back then. Jolene nods and tells me that's understandable. Now, as for your father's DNA, and this is where you are so very special, honey, your biological father is one of the true oracles of fate. Because you are a female, you are a truth seer, able to predict the future, as well as see into a person's past. You can sense danger, recognize evil in others. You are a gift, a very special gift. Blake said, I would love it if you came to stay at the pack house, at least until your shift. Matthew and Jolene can also help you hone your gifts. That is, if you want to. I knew this was huge. I also knew I needed help if I was going to understand everything about myself. I replied, I will need a few days. I have to let Danny know. And pack up a few things. Tell Fred he has to move out. Once I have all that taken care of, I will come stay for a month or so. Matthew stood and said, I would like to do dinner differently tonight. If that's okay with you? I shrugged and nodded. He reached his hand out and I took it, as he led me out of the office. Laughing, I said, this is rapidly becoming your thing. The take my hand thing, he grinned. I started it as a way to calm you down. It is one of my gifts. But it became habit. So now I think of it as our thing. I use it with no one else. It only matters with you. So that set my heart to fluttering, like 1,000 butterfly wings, beating a tattoo of 1,000,000 beats. Why, though? I am trying to protect my heart, and he seems hellbent on running away with it. He led me to the gazebo in the back garden and had a table set up with our dinner. He had wine chilling, candlelight, and I teased, is this a date? He laughed and told me, if you want to call it that. I wanted a quiet place to talk and thought we might enjoy a nice dinner. I asked what he wanted to talk about, and he started getting nervous, fidgeting. I whispered, take my hand. He did, and a huge smile broke across his face. He said, I want to talk with you about mates. As wolves, our mate is the most important being in our world. They quickly become our everything. I nodded and told him, I know about mates. As a little girl, I used to wish for a mate of my own, to have one person belong solely to me, to love me, and teach me what it means to be loved. Oh, if I have a wolf, I will have a mate. He smiled and responded, Ella, I believe you are my mate. All the signs are there for me. Your scent. Your touch sends sparks shooting through me. Frost is totally convinced you are. But we won't know before your birthday. But already I am feeling your emotions. That's how I know to calm you down. My entire body infused with warmth. That would explain the pull I feel. The constant thinking about him, wanting to hear him, see him, touch him, makes perfect sense now. I smiled. Then we wait and see, and I will pray. A lot, every morning, noon, and night. Making him laugh. He promised, I will do the same. But my heart already knows.
Chapter 6. We headed out of town. Matthew's POV.
I drove Ella home. We laughed and talked the whole way. As I pulled into her driveway, there was a strange car parked behind Fred's. I asked if she knew who it was. She was a little disconcerted. No. But Fred has been acting shady as fuck the last couple weeks. Mumbling shit in his drunken stupor, like needing money. Making me give him money. He's going to get killed. He's always telling me to stay away from wolves. Threatening me. Shit like only good wolves are dead wolves. I'm afraid he's developing alcohol-related dementia. Either that, or he's involved in some sketchy shit that's going to get someone killed. I frowned. I don't like the sound of this. I'm going to come in with you. She shook her head. No, I got this. I'm not 13 anymore. He knows what will happen if he ever tries again. I let her know I wasn't okay with it, but I understood. Then I told her, I'm staying in town. I won't be far away. If you need me, text NU to me. That will let me know to come running. She smiled and asked why NU. I replied, it's letting me know you need me and need you. She pulled her phone out, going to her text messages and opening mine. She typed in the letters. Leaving the app open, she snoozed her phone. I grinned and said, Studley. She flushed beet red and muttered, well, I didn't. Oh, screw it. Yeah, you're fucking fine as hell, so. Studley. I laughed and pulled my phone out and showed her what she's under. She laughed, babelicious, we're even. Shaking my head, no way. I really like my nickname. I think you should call me that all the time. She laughed and responded, oh, okay. Studley do right. You got it, on the daily. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. My heart melted. I watched her walk inside before I drove away. Not feeling good about leaving her? No, I'm not leaving. I look for a way to camouflage the truck close to her house. I found an empty field on a dirt road behind the house. I parked the truck and crept back towards the back of her house. I could hear two men talking, one of them louder than the first. I mind-linked Maverick and told him to grab 10 warriors and meet me at Ella's house. I was close enough to hear any shouting or sounds of a fight. I wanted to be ready for anything. Ella's POV. I opened the front door and walked in. Fred yelled, where the fuck you been, girl? I glared at him. Then at the man sitting at my table, and back to Fred. Where I go is my business. You no longer have the right to question me. I am going to my room. Lock up when your little buddy leaves. I acted like I ran up the stairs, but stopped to listen. The man said, you said she was shy, quiet. That one has a mouth. You better figure a way to beat that out of her before I pick her up next month. Or you pay me back the $250,000 I paid for that bitch. He lunged around the corner and grabbed me by the throat. He had somehow known I was there. I should kill you. Don't you know eavesdroppers hear no good of themselves? I slid my thumb across my phone and hit send. Just as I started seeing spots. His grip lessened. I gasped in a large gulp of air and started coughing, not realizing Matthew had killed the asshole, and Fred escaped. I tried talking, but my throat was too raw. I got up and went to the fridge for a bottle of water. I said, Fred sold me to that fuker for $250,000. He was coming to get me next month, after Fred beat me into submission. Matthew asked, "Do you know that man at all?" I shook my head no. He responded, "He's Norman Sparks, the leader of the local hunter group. It makes me curious why Fred would know him." I shook my head no and headed to the stairs. He asked where I was going. I said, "That Fuker's room. If he's involved with hunters, there should be something in there." He grinned and said, "As soon as Maverick gets here, I will come help." I said okay and went on to Fred's room. I started with his dresser, moving to the armoire, then finally his closet. Under the floorboards was a ton of documents and certifications for hunter qualifications and a uniform. Too small for Fred's beer belly now, so he must have been a hunter for a long time. I was packing everything I had found to go through tomorrow. Matthew joined me. I told him what I had found. He pulled me into a hug. "You've been through a lot tonight. I don't trust that bastard to not show up here and try something. Will you come stay at the pack house now, instead of next month?" I smiled and teased, saved me from asking. "No way am I staying here. That asshole sold me for a lot of money. Someone will come looking. I would rather not be front and center for that. I'll pack some clothes real quick. You'll have to get me to and from work." He grinned. "It would be my pleasure, every day." He took the boxes of Fred's stuff down to his truck. I went to my room and packed some of my things. When I got downstairs, the dead guy was gone and my house cleaned up. I thanked Maverick, and Matthew grabbed my bags. I looked back at the house and said, "I need to lock everything up. I don't want that man back in my house." Matthew replied, "I kinda broke the back door on my way in. I will have men all around the house tonight, and the doors will be fixed tomorrow." I told him I wanted to search Fred's car, so we tore it apart, found some maps, raid schedules, a few other useful things. Maverick hollers for us to roll, and we headed out of town.
Chapter 7, I'll Think About It. Matthew's POV.
By the time Ella was settled in her room, we are all so exhausted we couldn't pat our asses with both hands. We all fell asleep as soon as got stretched out. I have already briefed Mom and Dad on what we learned at Ella's house, what she had heard, and what she found. Mom was pissed. She snapped, "Hasn't that girl been through enough?" Ella knocked, and I opened the door to her. She blushed adorably and said good morning. I repeated it back and took the boxes out of her arms. She kissed Mom and hugged Dad. Then she sat down. She said, "I can give you a synopsis of what's in that box. It ain't pretty, but it proves he is an upper-ranked member of the Mountain Men Hunters Association. If you pull their website up, you will see members' pictures. Fred is a first lieutenant. In that box is evidence he has been abducting women, selling them to other hunters. On that same website, you will see Fred, that Norman guy, as well as Tommy, the man my mother left with. He sold her too. He sold me to Norman. But since all funding belongs to the association, technically, I belong to the next leader. So, I have no doubt someone is going to be coming for me." I growled. Frost rose up. "No one will come for you. They have to come through us." She laid her hand across my desk, and I immediately grabbed it. "This is definitely our thing," Blake said. "Was there any information on location? You said raid schedules. Anything we can work with?" Ella nodded. "Absolutely. I believe this map shows the locations of the raids. The schedule is on the back. This map gives locations of their camps, with this one, up here, being base camp. What I don't get is where are they getting their money? Paying $250,000 for me? Someone has to be bankrolling them." I responded, "Maeve, you and Dalton start calling the alphas where these marks are. Tell them the threat level is red, and let them know we will send aid." "Ella's POV," Blake said, I will call Liam and have him run the money trail. You're right, Ella. There has to be a financer. The kind of money they're spending on women has to have left a footprint. Jolene said, ask Damien to send his trackers to the mountains. Get some intel on movement in their base camp. We can't attack yet. Not until they do. They will claim we murdered Norman Sparks. Instead of self-defense. Matthew snarled. He was choking my mate to death. He provoked an attack. I am not sorry. I whispered, take my hand. As soon as he did, he calmed down right away. Jolene giggled. Maybe don't take his hand when we're in battle. Frost would be a blubbering mess, napping on the battlefield. Everyone laughed at the visual. Matthew said, Mom, in exactly 6 weeks, we need to have a birthday party for Ella. 18 is a big one. We don't want her missing out on a party. I said, please, really, you don't have to go to any trouble. I won't miss a party. I stopped celebrating my birthday when I was 5. I realized nobody cared enough to remember, so I didn't care either. Jolene said, now I have to have a party, a show-stopping over-the-top party to make up for all the ones you've missed because of dumbasses. Blake laughed and told us, y'all are in trouble now. She's not going to be happy until this party is the event of the century. Blake looked at me. We can send an emissary to speak with the oracles on Rainier. If you are at all interested in knowing who your father may be, being a truth seer is a pretty big deal. I can't help but wonder how I would feel if I had a child out there somewhere and I didn't know. I would be crushed. But that's just me. I smiled. I believe he has a right to know. But I definitely want it understood. I have no intention of interfering in his life in any way. I know how my mother was, and I doubt she could remember anything about my biological father. Whether Fred sold her or not, she was happy to be leaving me behind. Just signed custody over to Fred and skipped her happy ass down the road. Calvin came in, working a crossword puzzle. I grinned. Oh, I love those. I do them all the time, especially when the diner is on a slow day. He smiled. Good. You can help me. Jolene said, I didn't realize there were slow days at the diner. Danny has really good food, and every time I am in town, the place seems slammed. I shrugged. It has its moments. It slows down a bit after dinner rush, which is awesome since it gives me time to prep for breakfast shift. Managing the place for Danny keeps me on my toes. Blake asked, how long have you worked for Danny? I laughed and told them how I got started there. I was 15. Fred had had a really bad night and decided I needed to tote an ass beating. Wasn't the first time, but I had made up my mind it was going to be the last. I fell in with some really bad kids. Thieves, pickpockets, bullies. That's where I learned to fight. My initiation into their little gang was to rob Danny's, and I warned him instead. He took me under his wing after that, trained me to fight properly, and taught me how to run the diner. He became family, and here we are. Matthew groused. You really have had a rough go of it, haven't you? I am so sorry. I laughed and said, I didn't have it as bad as others. Life is a lesson. You either learn or you fail. Failure isn't an option I wish to entertain. Calvin groaned. This is frustrating. What begins with F and ends in K? I smiled and said, no, it doesn't. He looked at me with a stupefied look and asked, what doesn't? While everyone around us laughed. And I replied, exactly, making us laugh harder at his expression. Matthew said, Calvin, what begins with W and ends with T? He groaned again and said, of course it does. Doesn't help me with a 9-letter word that starts with F and ends in K. I was laughing so hard that I had tears. He still doesn't get it. Damn. Okay, Cal. A 9-letter word. Fire break? Flashback? Maybe fire truck? He grinned. That's it. Fire truck. Thanks, Luna. I tilted my head at Matthew. He shrugged. What? It's true. And it will be proven in 6 weeks. Jeline squeals. Oh, I can't wait. What if I plan a Luna ceremony for the same night as the birthday party? It would be perfect. And I can decorate in the colors of Bear Creek Pack. We have to find you a gown. What would you prefer? Short or long? There's that cute little boutique in town. We should probably go there. Ordering anything online is a crapshoot. She looked up and said out loud. We all laughed, and I said, I'll think about it.
Chapter 8. Who's worried now, bitches? Ella's POV.
I woke up this morning with the worst migraine I have ever had. A sick headache that had me nauseous. Danny told me to go home, so I texted Matthew, asking for a ride, but I have yet to hear back. I sent a second text, letting him know I was going to my house to lie down. My head had reached nuclear implosion stage, and I just wanted to sleep it off. The last 4 weeks have been hectic and nonstop. Jeline is such an extreme ball of energy that anyone close enough gets caught up in it. She has everything ready for the party and is still pushing for the Luna ceremony. I am reticent. I worry Matthew will turn out not being my mate, and I will be devastated. I reached my house, with still no response from Matthew, so I went inside and dropped a pod in my Keurig. While my coffee brewed, I grabbed a quick hot shower. Bringing my coffee up to my room, I relaxed against my pillows until I felt my eyes getting heavy. I slept quite a while. The sun was low in the sky when I opened my eyes. I stretched and realized my head had eased off. When a shy voice sounded in my head, hello. I said hello back and asked where they were. A giggle in my brain, and I'm in here, silly, in your soul. I'm a balloon. I asked, like a shell? You're a shell? Another giggle, a what? I'm a wolf? Not a shell? Did I get a defective human? Just my luck. 200 years without a vessel and goddess gives me to a broken one. I sneered. I'm not broken, you twit. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're defective. I didn't even know I had a wolf, and now you insult me. A balloon laughed. Whoa there, feisty pants. Let's start over. Hi there. My name is a balloon. Not a shell. I am your wolf. I have always been with you. Just couldn't speak until now. A little heads up. You should probably get used to speaking with me in your head. Walking around, talking out loud like you're doing, will prove to everyone you really are defective. I said, stop that. You're starting to piss me off. A balloon says inside your head. Not out loud, crazy britches. Ugh. I closed my eyes and just thought what I wanted to say. With my eyes closed, I could see her. She was beautiful. All silver, with shocking blue eyes. Her ears, paws, and tail all looked like they had been dipped in black ink. She heard my thoughts and wagged her tail. I got up, deciding I am hungry. I had forgotten my phone downstairs, but when I checked it, there was still no answer from Matthew. I texted Maverick, asking if everything was okay. This was unusual, and I had just been hit with a feeling of impending doom. I set about fixing some scrambled eggs and toast, thinking I really needed to get a car. I called Jeline, and she didn't answer either. I was getting worried. This is so out of the ordinary. I sat down, closing my eyes, and released my aura, searching around me for the vibrations of human activity, finding nothing out of the ordinary, until I felt a sharp pain down my left leg. It was so excruciating I hit my knees. My breathing got shallow. Tears ran down my face. Then it passed, as if nothing had happened. What the fuck was that? I tried taking my mind off whatever was going on with Matthew. I cleaned my little house. I was actually in love with it now. The guys had replaced all my windows and doors with new ones. We had new hardwood flooring put in, Jeline and I had refurnished it, with odds and ends of things they had stored away. Matthew had replaced the roof and built beautiful new porches, front and back. I painted it white with light gray shutters. It was a home now. I had just thrown my bed sheets in the dryer when a bellon said someone outside. Can hear them trying to sneak through the woods out back. I tuned my hearing in the direction she'd heard the noise, realizing my hearing and vision had intensified. I listened carefully and could pick up 3 separate breathing patterns and heartbeats. Okay, so 3 people were sneaking my direction. I ran to my closet and holstered my pistol, grabbed several knives and my bow. I ran to Fred's room, opened his window. I climbed out onto the landing. I snuck around the dormer window and settled into position. 3 men broke through the wood line behind the house. I watched them stealthily winding their way, surrounding the back of my house. A bellon said, "Amateurs. The lot of them. Just kill them. I'm tired again." I rolled my eyes. "I got a snarky wolf. Fun," one of the men said. "I don't think she's here. The place looks empty." Another one said, "Where would she be? She wasn't at the diner. Our guys have kept that alpha and his pack busy all day. She has to be here." The first one broke away and was sneaking toward the front of the house. Once he was clear of the other 2, I threw a hunting knife, needing the added weight of it to throw true. It lodged in the base of his neck, severing his brain stem. He dropped immediately. One of the others asked, "What was that? Did you hear anything?" The second one responded, "I think I hear a dryer, so someone has to be here." I knew I wasn't going to let them inside my house, so I did what my brain was saying don't do. I ran and flipped off the roof. Landing behind them, I said, "Hello, boys. Looks like a good night to die, doesn't it?" The guy on the porch snarled and charged me. I jumped up and kicked him in the jaw, and landing, spun out into a roundhouse, kicking him on the other side of his face. The second man tried to get to me, and I kicked him in the balls. Street fighting at its finest. I hatchet kicked the first guy and felt his neck snap. 2 down. The one I kicked was just getting back up when I punched him in the temple, knocking him out. I dragged his heavy ass up to the porch. Then I groaned to myself. A bellon said, "Sure didn't think this through. Both doors are locked. We went out the window on the 2nd floor, and the keys are inside. See? Defective." I growled, "Shut up. I need to think." I ran to the shed and found some clothesline rope. Back on the porch, I tied bad guy number 3 up and ran to the side of the house, climbed the oak tree, and made it back through the window. My wolf grinned, "Nicely done. I take it back." I dragged the asshole in the kitchen and tied him to a chair, going in search of my phone. I could hear it vibrating. I found it. 20 missed calls and twice as many text messages. Yeah, huh? Who's worried now, bitches?
Chapter 9, She's a Smartass. Sue, Matthew's POV.
After dropping Ella off at the diner, I headed back home. She had been suffering a bad headache since last night. I wanted her to call off sick, but she's stubborn. I have learned if I push her, she will dig her heels in just to spite me. It's frustrating, but I always enjoy our give and take interactions. Maverick and I were handling the alphas we had notified weeks ago about hunters in the area. Every one of the idiots had told us they can handle whatever comes their way. Now they have found out differently. I have spent the morning deciding which warriors I was sending to what packs to train them. Goddess, I hate the paperwork. Mom had come in, going over a guest list. I told her Ella isn't comfortable with huge crowds. I want to just keep it to our pack and Uncle Damien and his circle. Mom nodded, but then asked, "What about the Luna ceremony? Our allied alphas should be here." I sighed. "Mom, I don't even know if she will be ready." or want to have her Ascension ceremony. It's her birthday. She's never, not once, ever, celebrated it. I want her happy, not pressured. She sighed back at me. You're right. You are absolutely right. How did you get so smart, monkey butt? I am such a lucky, proud mama. Maverick cracked up. Whelp, monkey butt. We have to check the southern fences. Seems we have a couple 100 feet of fencing down or cut through. We headed outside and shifted. Frost was excited to be out, and he kept nipping Orden's heels. I sat back, allowing him to expend some energy. He's been cooped up too long. He pulled up short, sniffing the air. Growling, he said, "Rogues," and I linked Mom and Dad. We were under attack. Orden and I separated and flanked the warriors lining up for the charge. 20 rogues charged out of the tree line. I sent an order to hold until they've crossed the border. When they did, we attacked. No mercy. My warriors never faltered and made short work of them all. I had just ripped the throat out of the last one. When we were linked, hunters were firing at us from the east. Leaving our men to repair the fences, Maverick and I tore ass to the east. By the time we arrived, 6 men were shot and down. Frost concentrated on the trees, outside our border, locating each of the snipers. I alerted our marksmen where to start firing. As soon as that little skirmish was put down, the northern border alerted us to another attack. Upon arrival, Odin and Angel were fighting back to back, in perfect synchronized movements. I always loved watching the way they each seem like an extension of the other. I have always wanted my life to be like that, Orden, and I jumped into the fight, ripping off limbs, tearing through flesh. Just as Frost severed a rogue's head, I felt agony flash through my left haunch, knowing I had just been shot with silver. It can't kill me, but it definitely slowed me down. We heard, "Retreat, retreat." I took out the white wolf we came for. My dad roared in the link. After them, not one survives this night. All the warriors that weren't wounded took off after the running dummies. By the time we had gotten all our wounded to the infirmary and on their way to healing, Mom and I took a minute to breathe. She checked my leg and nodded. "It's healed. Scared the shit out of me when I saw you go down. Don't do that again." I grinned and said, "No problem, Mom. Next time, I will tell my assailant that my mumum said he can't do that." She giggled. Okay. Sounds stupid when you put it like that." Maverick walked up to us, handing me my phone. "I can't reach Ella. She had texted hours ago, asking if you were okay. Now she's not answering." I looked at my phone. She left work early. Her headache worsened. She's probably sleeping. I texted her and went to grab a shower. After I was done, and Ella hadn't answered, I was starting to worry. We called her phone, each of us trying. We sent a dozen text messages. It was getting late, and we decided we needed to get to town. Mom and Dad joined Mav and me, and we headed out. But halfway there, my phone rang, and my whole body sagged in relief at seeing Babelicious popping up on my screen. I hit the answer button on my steering wheel and said, "Baby." She giggled. "Sure, now you answer. What happened? How hurt are you? And don't say you aren't." I felt it. Left leg. Upper thigh. "You better be okay. I have a wolf. Her name is a balone. Like the shell, but she's not a shell. She's a wolf. A snarky, sarcastic pain in the ass wolf. She keeps calling me defective. I must show her defective. She gives me a headache. I sure hope you're headed to my house soon. I got 2 dead guys on my lawn, and a pissed off one tied up in my kitchen. He keeps complaining he has a headache, and he thinks his nuts are in his throat because he's having trouble breathing." On the 4th attempt at interrupting her, I finally got her to listen. We are almost there, baby. I'm so sorry I left you alone. Can you get coffee ready? We have a lot to discuss. I hung up and Mom busted out laughing. She's definitely a special one. I didn't even hear her take a breath. Just spit that all out in one breath. Amazing. I laughed and told them, she's excited about a balloon. Maverick laughs. The wolf, right? Not the shell? We all laughed at that. I sighed. Took a deep breath. I could have lost her. They sent men for her, and she had been left alone. Never again, Maverick. Clear Calvin's schedule. From now on, he is Ella's shadow. Where she goes, he is right beside her. In 2 weeks, I will bring her into the pack. A mind link will help. I want her ascension ceremony done as soon as she has shifted. I won't survive another attack on her. Dad said, her wolf is awake, son. We can bring her into the pack right now. Tonight. I want it done as quickly as possible. I wholeheartedly agreed. Just as I pulled into her driveway, I was out of the truck and pulling her into my arms before anyone else could undo their seatbelt. She giggled and told me she was fine, but the dead guys were stinking up the place. Her senses were increasing and smells were bothering her. I smiled and said, first, I want to bring you into the pack. We can establish a mind link that way, and it will set my mind at ease. She nodded and walked back into the kitchen. I hear her say, shut up. I know he's hot. He says we are, and I feel a pull, so I think so. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. I started laughing. You do know you only have to think what you want to say to a balloon, right? But please, continue talking to her out loud. Good to know you think I'm hot. She blushed bright red and said, takes some getting used to. And she's a smartass. Suo.
Chapter 10, Forever Love, Ella's POV.
As soon as Matthew clasped my bloodied palm in his, I felt a million things. My body warmed. I was engulfed in a flood of adrenaline. A balloon was tap dancing on my brain, her tail banging a hole in my skull, and thousands of voices were rattling around, echoing in my very soul. Matthew said, breathe through it, baby. Imagine a room with only you in it. It has a heavy steel door protecting you from the voices. Shut the door. Lock them out. If someone wants to talk, they will nudge the door, like knocking. Except me. I always have access. No stinking door can keep me out. I laughed. Well, aren't you special? We all have to knock to get your attention, and you can invade our privacy just whenever I feel violated. And he laughed with me. The man tied at my kitchen table glaring at me, asked, you're a wolf now. Edgar will not be pleased. Bet he fucking kills Fred this time, I sneered. He'd be doing the world a favor. Who's Edgar? And I am not a wolf now. I have always been a wolf, dumbass. It's not like I woke up and thought, maybe I will be a wolf from now on. Doesn't work that way, idiot. He spit on me. Matthew backhanded him. I giggled. Oh, this is fun. I like this game. I piss you off. You do something stupid, and the alpha slaps you. Good times. Let's continue, shall we? I asked. Your people kept the alpha and the pack busy, so the three of you could sneak up in here. And what? Snatch me for this Edgar fella. I'm assuming he must be the new leader of the mountain men. See? The powers of deductive reasoning. Now tell me, when did rogues join hunters in going after other wolves? Especially attacking the royal adjutant pack? He spit again, and Matthew repeated the backhand, knocking him out that time. I muttered, the fuck he hit him so hard for. Now I have to wait for an answer. Matthew hugged me and said, I am thoroughly convinced this thinking out loud is a woman thing. You're as bad as my mother. Jolene said, hey, I don't do it as much anymore, Blake said. Well, you don't do it any less either. She smacked him. I cracked up. Maverick came in and said, "Transport is here for the prisoner." Why's he napping again? Blake laughs. Matthew sang him a lullaby. Maverick nodded and slung the guy over his shoulder. I had finished washing up the coffee cups, so we locked up the house and headed back to the pack. Approaching the border, I said, "The traitors are gathered. I see 8. A cottage. No, a cabin. All wood. 2 broken windows and what looks like black tar paper on the roof." Matthew nods and slams his foot down on the accelerator. I notice warrior wolves running alongside the truck, and we drift sideways off the road to come to a stop. Right in front of the cabin, I saw Blake and Matthew jumped out, and Matthew kicked the door off its hinges. Within seconds, 2 women and 6 men were on their knees in the front of the cabin. Matthew growls, "The first person to start talking survives. Best figure it out. You have until morning." Turning to his warriors, he said, "Hang them all in chains. No food, no water, no lights. I will begin interrogations in the morning." He got back in the truck and smiled at me. "Handy dandy little gift you have there." I shrugged. It feels stronger. This time, when I felt the danger, a vision came with it. He grinned and told me, "That's a Balon's influence. She will help you now." Jalene said, "Angel says a Baloni is a favorite of the moon goddess's wolves. I can't wait to meet her. I bet she's beautiful. Does she seem large? It feels like she has a large presence, but that could be her personality." I laughed. "She looks humongous in my head, but that could be because I have a tiny headspace. Her personality is definitely huge. She's opinionated and judgmental, sarcastic and funny at the same time. She definitely takes some getting used to." By the time everyone and everything was settled for the night, I was exhausted. I went to my room and showered, and had just slipped into sleep shorts and top when I heard a knock at my door. I opened it to Matthew, who held a tray with some warmed over pizza and 2 cans of soda. "I thought you might be hungry." I yanked him into my room, and we sat cross-legged on the floor. "Enjoying our feast?" I asked. "Do you really believe we are mates?" He nodded, smiling. "I am certain of it." Taking my hand, he whispered, "The sparks are stronger now, since a Balon is awakened. You should be able to feel tingles already. My scent should be a little stronger and more enticing. Yours is absolutely captivating and driving Frost mad. You smell like jasmine and moonflowers. Intoxicating." I closed my eyes and breathed him in. Before today, he always smelled good. The smell of the forest after a spring rainfall. Now, a distinct aroma of pine and mint mixed with it. It filled my senses, permeated my soul. A Balon purred and whispered, "Mate," in my mind. I opened my eyes. Looking directly into his, "I want to go ahead with the Luna ceremony on my birthday. A Balon is convinced. Frost is certain. I want to be yours. For eternity." He pulled me into his lap and buried his face in my neck. He whispered. I shifted into my wolf. Very young. By the time I was 7. Frost was fully grown. He has wanted to be with his mate for 14 years. But he waited. He let me be a boy. Let me grow and mature. He never complained. But when he laid eyes on you, he knew. You have made us both very happy tonight, baby. Forever, love.
Chapter 11. They're quite the pair. Matthew's POV.
I had decided to allow our traitors to marinate a few days. Nothing like hanging in your own body excrement to make you feel alive. Know what I mean? Mom had just walked in with Ella, both of them giggling up a storm. And Maverick mutters, "Here comes double trouble," making me laugh. I love how well they get along. Mom misses Ari and Gabai so much. Having Ella here has brought life back to her eyes. Ella glanced up from the book Mom was showing her and winked at me. My stomach did 4 backflips and landed in my sock heel. This girl affects me in ways I never dreamed possible. I can't wait to accept her and mate with her. A guard linked me from the cells. The redhead wants to talk. I told everyone I was going to the cells and Ella jumped up. Can I come? A balloon mentioned something I would like to try. I cocked an eyebrow at her and she said, as long as evil hasn't blackened the soul, I should be able to access memories and hear thoughts as long as I am touching the person. I held out my hand and whispered into her mind. She immediately put her little mitt in mine, grinning at me. Definitely our thing. We made it down to the cells and went straight to the prisoners. I gagged, the fuck? Y'all really do stink. Maverick, hose them down. Something. Ella laughed. That ain't gonna help. Instead of smelling like shit and piss, they're gonna smell like shitty piss. 6 of one, half dozen of another. Maverick asked, what? I shrugged and said, Ella logic. She smacked me, making me laugh. Maverick had the redhead separated and showered, then brought to an interrogation room. Lisa was shackled to the chair, her wrists locked in front of her on the table. Her hair was dull and lifeless, eyes puffy and swollen from crying. Ella grinned at her, then said, your little band of turncoats decided you would be the sacrificial lamb. All of them aware that the ranks in this pack do not torture women. What they aren't aware of is me. I got no problem beating a bitch down, especially one who drugged my mate and nearly got him killed. I smiled. My own personal badass. Maverick linked, I'm always staying on her good side. I laughed at that. Me too, brother. Me too. I looked directly at Lisa. You told the guard you are ready to talk. I suggest you get to it. Depending on what you have to say, will determine who sees the sunrise tomorrow. She started with more tears and Ella snapped, stop the theatrics. There is no shame in your soul. No remorse for anything other than getting caught. Ella linked me, and it startled me. First time hearing her in my head, and Frost is actually purring. Her soul is dark. I can't get a read, just feelings. She's angry she was found out. Ask her about her father. Mel, I think? I cleared my throat. Let's start out simple. Tell me about Mel, your father. We know he resents not living by the same rules as he did at River Run. She sneers at me. You know nothing. Your parents broke the chosen bond between my parents. My fucking mother found her true mate that same day. Didn't think twice about abandoning me and moving across the country to be with him. Ella asked, how old were you when that happened? Then she linked me. Find a phone number for her mother. I want to have a discussion with this woman before we get too far into this. I nodded and had Maverick run that information down. Just as Lisa said, I wasn't quite 3. Ella smiled and said, so any memory you have of your mother is latent. Ones you have been conditioned to believe. How does your father treat you? I've heard River Run didn't always treat she-wolves well. Is he good to you? She shrugged. He's a dad, like any other dad. He yells a lot. Disciplines me when I screw up. But at least he stuck around, right? Ella said, so, you resent your mother for leaving you. Yet you only know what Mel has told you, and follow him blindly. You obviously know who your mother is with, where she is. Why have you never thought to listen to her side? She screeched. I don't need to. I don't care about her side. She left me. She sentenced me to a life of being a pack mule, a slave, a whipping post. So, no, I don't care. Maverick came back and nodded. I linked Ella, we can contact the mother. Taking her phone out of her back pocket, she looked at Maverick expectantly. He just stood, looking back. I chuckled. The number, dumbass. Give her the number. Once Ella had explained the situation to Lisa's mother, whose name is Elaine, she put the call on speaker. Then she asked, "What happened, Elaine, when King Damien snapped your chosen bond?" Elaine said, "My life was a series of cracked ribs and black eyes. Mel is not a good man. I was beaten for things like pronouncing a word wrong, nodding my head at another pack member, not making enough food for his sluts to eat with us, so they would get my portion. When the bond was broken, a warrior from Stormy Glen turned out to be my true mate. I was packing mine and Lisa's things when Mel came in and told me I couldn't have her. He was keeping her." I said, "Lisa, as you are aware, as patriarchal as our rules are, the father has first claim to any and all pups. Although you being female, I am surprised he chose to claim you." Ella said, "He didn't do it out of any kind of abiding love or responsibility. It was done strictly as a means to hurt Elaine and to punish Lisa for being female. He harbors no sense of duty. He worked every day to poison Lisa's mind against her mother. He succeeded. A stronger mind would have realized what he was doing. Common sense dictates there is always 3 sides to every story: his side, her side, and somewhere in the middle, the truth." Lisa yelled, "Stop talking like I'm not even here." And Elaine whispered into the phone, "Lisa, oh goddess, Lisa, I didn't abandon you. I called the new Alpha once a week. I attended all your school events. I never heard from you. I didn't know if you liked the birthday and Christmas gifts I sent. You never wore them. I have been to Bear Creek 5 times to visit you. But your father always said you were busy or out with friends." I sat watching Lisa's face as her mother spoke. She was angry. Then she was confused. Then sad. She whispered, "No, no, you left. You didn't care. If I believe you, everything I know, my whole life, is a lie. I never got any gifts. I was never told you came to see me. Nothing. He lied. My entire existence is a lie." Elaine said, "No, your existence is my greatest blessing. You brought me the only joy I had ever known. Leaving you broke me in ways your father never could. Alpha Landon, might I be allowed to see my daughter? Frank and I can leave right now. I can be there in an hour." I told her she was welcome, that it might help us reach a better understanding as to what is happening with these traitors. We hung up the phone, and Ella turned to Maverick, take Lisa to her house for a proper shower and a clean set of clothes. She should be presentable to meet her mother. We all left the cells, with Mel screaming he was going to kill Lisa this time. And I stepped to him. "You aren't going to kill anyone. You are going to die for treason. When the king and my father find out what you've been up to, well, I'm just relieved it's not me facing their wrath. They're quite the pair."
Chapter 12, You Will Die Alone. Ella's POV.
Jolene and I were waiting out front for Elaine and Frank. Lisa was in Matthew's office, with Blake and Maverick sitting in. I am hoping Lisa lets go of the darkness so I can read her heart. She's so angry and full of pain. I can only read the darkness in her soul. Jolene greeted Elaine, while I asked them all to follow me. I knocked at the office door, and at Matthew's "Enter," I lead them into the office. I walked over and sat in Matthew's lap, while Frank and Elaine sat across from Lisa. Elaine held a huge brown book on her lap. She said, "I brought this for you. It's every memory I have of you. Snow White in 2nd grade, Juliet in 7th. It's all in here, Lisa. Every important moment of your life, I was there. I wasn't allowed to touch you or talk to you, so this had to be enough." Lisa took the book and saw pictures of herself as a baby. For the first time, she saw a class picture for every year she was in school. Pictures of her doing all the things she did when she was smaller. She started to cry, and I could feel her aura getting lighter. She whispered, "He lied. Everything he told me taught me is a lie. I will tell you everything I know." Matthew said, "Everything. If I am satisfied with what you tell us, I will spare your life and send you to live with your mother." Her face lit up, and nodding vigorously, she said, "Everything I know. Mel leads the little group you have in custody. Several months ago, a man named Sparks approached Mel in town, asking about she-wolves in our pack that can be easily taken. The hunters are wanting to impregnate she-wolves and raise an army. They believe half-bloods are easier to train and control. Mel is paid for each one he brings in. They haven't taken any from here yet. They snag lone wolves or omegas in town shopping. He has a plan to take 2 omegas from here. I was supposed to get the girls away from the pack house so he could nab them. Then he wants me to drug you again so he can take that one to Edgar. She's a $10,000 payday. Reward money. Going to be a lot of crazies wanting that bounty." I asked, "So, Edgar is offering 10 grand to whomever brings me to him?" Lisa nods, "Yes, but Mel is also supposed to either kill you, Alpha, or your mate, before you mark her. Something about the legend of the heart and the eye of the moon mating. Supposed to be a double blessing from the goddess. It has significance, but I was never told what." Maverick said, "I have asked Jolene and Blake in on this. We're going to need Damien and Lynette." Matthew told Elaine and Frank to pack Lisa up and take her home. She was no longer a part of Bear Creek Pack. I smiled as I realized Lisa's soul harbored far less darkness than before. Jolene and Blake joined us, and Matthew filled them in. Blake started laughing. "Liam is going to be pissed. More research. Another legend. I'll call Damien right now." As soon as Blake explained what Liam needed to research, Liam yelled, Why can't you people just be normal? Linny and her 10 magical kids. Jolene and her blessed one. And now the blessed one has a blessed mate. Great. Just fucking great." We were all laughing, and Damien said, "Get some people to help. You won't be the only one researching. I'm going to have to contact the oracles, Ella. A truth seer is rare, and with you having a Balon as your wolf, it makes sense that you are the eye of the moon." I said, "That's all well and good, but I have lived my life as a human. I am not used to being overwhelmed. As long as they do nothing to disrupt my life, I don't mind." Matthew pulled me into his lap and murmured, "Nothing better disrupt our lives. 10 days and you are mine." We hung up with Damien saying they would be at Bear Creek in a couple days. Matthew stood and held his hand out. We are so used to it now. We automatically reach for each other without having to say, "Take my hand." He smiles and asked, "Shall we inform our dear friend Melvin his daughter is finally reunited with her mother?" I giggled and said, "Absolutely." We walked down to the cells. Matthew had relented and allowed them all to have the freedom of their cells instead of hanging from the ceiling. Mel was on his feet before we reached his cell. He demanded to know where Lisa is. Matthew grinned and said, "Halfway back to her mother's pack, I would imagine. You see, Mel, lies always have a way of becoming truths in the harsh light of day. What you did to that girl and her mother is beyond the pale. They lost so much time together, all because of your petty ass. Now they have the opportunity to love each other, without your poison tainting it. Don't you love it when a plan comes together?" Mel charged the door of the cell, hitting it with all his might, knocking himself on his ass, and for some reason, it struck me funny. I stood there for a good 3 minutes, laughing, all the while watching Mel get back to his feet. The whole time acting like that was his plan to begin with, which made it funnier. He said, Her mother doesn't deserve her. She abandoned us both. She is a piece of trash who should have been executed for betraying her mate and pack. Matthew laughed. She abandoned no one. You force-marked and made it a wolf not fated to you. She was never yours. Lisa was a baby. She should have never been separated from her mother. You did that out of spite, not out of any paternal devotion or love, out of resentment and vindictiveness. Mel snarled. You think you know everything? Just because you run your pack the way you do doesn't mean it's the right way. We should all have the right to say and do, to act, the way we feel is best for us. Matthew said, in theory, that is what happens. But everyone answers to someone. In our case, in our species, that happens to be the moon goddess. By not following her mandates, your road leads to mayhem. You were supposed to have learned the value of mate, pack, and family in kindergarten. I said, you deprived both Elaine and Lisa of the maternal bond that would have rounded out Lisa's gentle nature. You forced her to do things that went against her moral compass. For what? In the end, what have you gained? You are alone. You will die alone.
Chapter 13. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Matthew's POV.
We're all gathered in the conference room. Uncle Damien asks me, what have you decided to do about the 5 traitors? I sighed and said, Mel dies. Tonight? He orchestrated the whole thing. He arranged for the others to be paid. They have taken 11 females and handed them over to Fred, who in turn takes them to the hunter's camp. I intend to make a spectacle of Mel's execution. The pack thinks I am not as strong a leader as you are, Dad. That is going to change. I tried ruling with compassion, making myself approachable. I think our pack needs to be reminded. There is a reason to fear the alphas, Landon. It's time for a firm hand. Ella smiled at me and said, you are a fair and just alpha. Everything I know about wolves could probably fill a thimble. But I know people, and always. With respect comes a modicum of fear. These people don't fear you, because they know how much it hurts a healer to cause harm, and they have taken advantage of that. I love you, Matthew. Let's show them how it's done. Mom tells me, she's right, son. You would heal flies that the cooks would swat, much to their dismay. But Ella is right, inasmuch as your heart hurting for anything in pain. The pack knows that. They grew up with you. Dalton started laughing. Dude, 5 years old. You cried for 3 days over a roadkill possum. You remember? I chuckled. Okay, point taken. Glaringly obvious fault acknowledged. Ella said, oh, hell to the no. I need to hear about the roadkill possum. Matthew, shaking his head ruefully. And Dalton tells us Cindy and Tammy bellows. They had to have been, 11, 12 maybe, at the time, just starting their mean girl phase. Something they never seemed to outgrow, by the way. They had, for some reason, zeroed in on Matt. One day, we were wrestling in the backyard, and they showed up, crying, acting a fool, with a box, said they'd found a poor injured possum, and would Matthew help him. Matthew grimaced. I tried everything I could, to the point I exhausted myself. I cried myself to sleep. I woke up and remembered I had failed, and cried more. Dalton said, poor kid was crushed. What he didn't realize, the possum had been dead for over an entire day. The girls thought it was funny to watch a 5-year-old lose his shit. I got pissed, so I waited until Matthew could handle the fact there was nothing he could have done. Maverick said, that's when I had an idea. We hadn't buried the possum. We were waiting on Maddie. The damn dead thing started doing that bloat thing, and I was afraid it was going to blow all over Matthew's room. He wanted to keep trying to save it. Dalton nodded. I tried explaining, and finally, on the 3rd day, Matthew accepted There was nothing he could have done. Maverick chuckled. So, following through with my idea, I took that old dead, bloated possum and hid it in Cindy and Tammy's room. Sometime during the night, it ruptured, exploding that nasty shit all over their room. Them, their clothes, good times. He and Dalton were cracking up and Matthew looked shocked. Dad lost his shit. The girls came to my office with their dad, filed a complaint. Nothing ever came of it, though. It wasn't important enough to investigate, and neither girl claimed to know anything about it. Mom grinned and mumbled, "Sometimes karma needs a helping hand. They're so lucky I didn't know about it. I would have shaved their wolves' asses and made them walk backwards." Ella busted out laughing and asked, "What?" I grinned and told her, "See? Mom talks to herself too," thinking she thought it silently, but it's what she calls out loud thoughts. Ella laughed harder. "My spirit animal. I'm not the only one. Thank the goddess." Dad laughed with her and said, "Oh no, there's two." Matthew then said, "In all seriousness, after Mel dies, we are going to raid the hunters' main camp. I am rescuing the she-wolves and getting them home. This will not stand. I am only hoping they are keeping them there." Damien grinned, an evil grin. "If they aren't all there, we take some hunters alive. We can convince them it's in their best interest to tell us where they keep the women." Dad laughed and looked at Mom. She smiled. "I will heal them enough to get them talking. Just be sure not to damage major organs when you're doing your convincing." I laughed that time. Mom knows the men in her life well. I stood and said, "The pack has gathered. Mel is being brought up from the cells. Time to let this pack know I am done being their friend." Standing at the podium, I tested the microphone and started speaking Bear Creek. "It has come to my attention that some of you believe it is okay to circumvent my authority, forming little groups of followers to do your bidding. You have all failed to realize the one fatal flaw in your pack within my pack, and that is this is indeed my pack. I am Alpha. You have mistaken my kindness for weakness. The man being held to my right is a traitor. He not only betrayed me, he betrayed this entire pack. He has been selling she-wolves to hunters. He even went so far as to single out 2 of our own Omegas as his next victims. By my command, any one of you dissatisfied with your life in this pack, any one of you considering betrayal of this pack, will be executed on the spot. No reprieve, no mercy. I will not tolerate traitors among us." I turned and decapitated Mel in front of everyone. Frost roared out his anger, and I growled, "This is your fate. I will not hesitate. This bullshit ends now." The entire pack looked shocked. I didn't care. I am done being the alpha who believed ruling in kindness was best. They will no longer be able to take advantage of me. I never relied on my physical strength. That's all changed now. I will be the alpha my mate deserves. And goddess help the fool who crosses me, or tries to bring harm to her, or my pack. We left for the hunter's camp less than an hour later, and a little over an hour after that, we were storming the compound's gates, only to find the place deserted. We had missed them by just a few hours. Damien said, "They knew we were coming, Matt. We have more traitors to ferret out." Frost roared out, "I am done before this week is done. I will know who stands against us. They will all die by my hand. No more Mr. Nice Guy."
Chapter 14, My House Now. Ella's POV.
This morning, I am wandering the pack, speaking with as many as I see outside. Matthew came home from the raid last night in such a mood. There are more traitors, and there was no consoling him. He was being a prick, and I have no patience for any of that shit. I understand he's upset. Taking it out on me? Never gonna get off the ground. That bird won't fly. If he expects me to talk to him, he had better get to apologizing his ass off. Telling me stupid shit like I wouldn't understand what he's going through. I never had to worry about anyone but myself. Guess what? I still don't have to worry about anyone else but me. After 2 hours of talking to pack members, I realized there is a deeper-seated issue among them. They are worried about Matthew's gentle nature being too ingrained to make him the alpha they need. None of them ever took the time to recognize the steel that lies beneath the kindness. I fear they are in for a rude awakening. In the kitchen, I overheard 2 housemaids talking about Matthew and something about a rogue named Tyler. They shut up when they saw me. I linked Maverick and told him he needed to take them both into custody. I stayed with them, chatting about inane things until Kennedy showed, catching a ride into town with an Omega going grocery shopping. I decided to go to my house. Still very upset with Matthew, I will clean my anger away. It's my coping mechanism. Mad, I clean. Sad, going to catch me scrubbing a toilet. Excited? You guessed it. Probably dusting the furniture. I was actually glad I came by. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. It smelled stale, unused. It made me sad to think it felt lonely. An asinine concept. But that's how it felt. Lonely. I cranked the stereo up, opened all my windows, and got right to it. I cleaned for several hours, then decided I would cook me a nice dinner. I took out flour and baking powder, thawing chicken. I started a garlic-infused Alfredo sauce with heavy cream and left it to simmer. While I made homemade linguine pasta, I lightly browned my chicken in olive oil before layering it on top of my fresh cooked pasta. I opened a bottle of wine and set the table. Then I slathered the chicken and pasta with the Alfredo sauce, sliding it into the oven for 20 minutes before I melted mozzarella all over the top. I checked my phone, wanting to let Matthew know where I was, only to see no one had texted me. Looks like it's not any of my business. That's fine. I will allow myself a few minutes of self-pity and move on. It's kind of what my life has always been anyway. I start overanalyzing everything about my time with Matthew. Overthinking. I am so guilty of it. Breaking everything down into one syllable at a time. Rethinking the way he treats me. My age has a lot to do with it. The fact that I lived my life believing I was human and only learning about werewolves recently. My parentage, my association with Fred, being stalked because some fool thinks he bought me. All of these factors, I believe, has Matthew thinking he absolutely has to put me in a bubble and keep me safe. That means not sharing bad things with me because he doesn't want to worry me. That results in him feeling momentary resentment that his mateship isn't as mature and responsible as his parents. Essentially, treating me like a child. See? Overthinking. Regardless, the fact remains Matthew treats me like a China doll. A child, almost. We are going to have a serious talk before any Luna ceremony is entertained. I removed my baked Alfredo from the oven and sat down at the table. I had just fixed my plate when someone pounded on my front door.
Matthew's POV.
When I woke up this morning, my head was pounding. I must have had one too many Jamesons. My tongue felt fuzzy, and I was dying of thirst. At breakfast, I asked Maverick where Ella was. He told me he didn't know, but she had overheard a couple maids talking about a rogue named Tyler. I nodded and told him to have them in my office immediately. I looked around for Ella, still not finding her. I linked Mom. She hadn't seen her. It wasn't like her to not let someone know what she's up to. I tried linking her, but we figured out she's the only person who can block my link. Why did she block me? I checked on her when we got back last night, and she was sleeping. I joined the guys for a few drinks. We were talking about the raid and how someone else is betraying us. I got pissed. a stupid whiskey pissed, so there's no reasoning, no logic, in the mind of a pissed-off drunk. Oh no, Ella had woken up and came to see why I was shouting. What did I say? Was I mean? Fuck. I linked Maverick asking him what I said to Ella. He linked back, dude. I don't know. She came in and you snapped, what do you want? And she said, you want to snarl at me. Fine, but you do it in private. You do not talk to me like that in public. Then she walked out. You looked at me, curled your lip, and went after her. Fuck, fuck, fuck. This is not good. I have to remember what I did. Right now, I get to talk to 2 maids about a rogue named Tyler. Maybe they will piss me off enough. I'll remember how much of an ass I was last night. The maids were sitting huddled together on the sofa. I demanded they sit in front of me. I asked, what are your names? They told me Beth and Allie. I said, tell me about Tyler. And before you think about lying, remember what happened to Melvin last night. I am not above executing a female. A traitor knows no gender. Beth said, he's just a guy we know. He hangs out at the Den. We meet up with him on Thursdays for karaoke. It's how we met him. I asked, a rogue in my town? And neither of you thought to bring this to me? Allie said, we didn't think you'd mind. You've never enforced the rules before, so we all thought it was okay. I sneered. Let me get this straight. You thought I wouldn't care about a rogue on my territory, at least once a week, and I wouldn't do anything about it? How fucking long has this been going on? Beth stuttered out, about 3 months. 3 months. The same amount of time I have known Ella is my mate. Too much of a coincidence. Just as I was telling Maverick to lock them up, my mind was broached. I opened the link and my mate said, my house. Now.
Important note.
To all our listeners, if you've been swept away by the captivating tale and are enjoying the journey, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Additionally, for those who prefer reading over listening, you can subscribe to our Book Lover Aficionado package on Patreon for just $10 a month, where you'll have access to both listen and read options. Your donations mean the world to us and help us bring even more thrilling stories to life. Find the Patreon link in the description below and become a part of our storytelling community today.
Chapter 15. The first tear fell. Ella's POV.
The pounding on my door was demanding and loud. I stood to go see who it was, only to hear glass breaking in the kitchen. Ah, the front door is the distraction for the breach at the back. I grabbed a handgun out of the drawer in the bureau and opened my link to Matthew, telling him where I was and I needed him. He responded with a hang tight, and I'm just grateful I got through. I run across the living room, darting up the stairs. Sprinting through my room, I grab my bow and 2 knives and slip out my window onto the flat lanai roof. Lying on my belly, I listen intently. The one from the front was walking around to the back door now. He asked back door guy if he found me. Front door guy was told no, but found something good to eat. Fuker is eating my dinner. He's going to die for that alone. Blake links me, asking my situation. I tell him only 2 in visual. Both in the kitchen. I am on the roof. Outside, armed and waiting. I heard them start ransacking my house, and I got pissed. I jumped from the roof and landed in the backyard. I yelled, hey, and the front door guy ran out the back door. I threw my knife straight into his chest. When back door guy realized his buddy was down, he locked himself inside my house. Inside my fucking house. At first, I just stood there. What the hell? How's this fool going to break into my house, then barricade his ass inside, like he owns the place? I was just climbing up the oak tree when Matthew and company broke the wood line. Rolling my eyes, I said, Back door guy locked himself in my house when I killed front door guy. Be right back. I climbed through my bedroom window and a baloney said this seems to be a pattern. We jump off the roof. We get locked out. We climb a tree. I think we need to get out more. Rolling my eyes, I try not to chuckle at her snarkiness. I crept down the stairs and spot the guy pacing between the kitchen and living room. Mumbling, "It's just one girl. It's an easy take. They said she's just a kid. She killed Bobby. Just killed him. They aren't offering enough money for this shit." I pulled my gun and chambered around, asking, "Who's they, big guy?" pointing the gun at his head. I said, "This is shaping up to be a really bad day for you. Now walk your ass out that kitchen door." He started slowly walking, keeping an eye on me. I told him, "Don't. Just fucking don't. I already killed front door guy. I won't hesitate to blow your head off. You stand a better chance with the wolves out there." He stepped out on the porch and Maverick grabbed him, tying him up. Matthew ran over to me, checking for injuries. I said, "I'm fine. Not even a scratch. I know how to take care of myself. I've never had to worry about anyone else." I walked back inside, leaving him to watch me with a confused look on his face. He told Maverick and his dad to take the guy to the cells. Then he came inside the house. I had slugged my glass of wine back and poured another. I asked, "Did you want a glass of wine? Or maybe something stronger?" He shook his head and quietly said, "I know you're upset with me, and I'm sorry. I am truly so very sorry." I cocked my head at him, looking at him. "Why, Matthew? Why are you sorry?" He stammered. "Thing is, I'm not sure. I know I was drunk, and I know I was mad. Not at you. I wasn't mad at you, Ella. I swear. But I'm not sure of what I said." I nodded, finished my second glass of wine, and started cleaning up the dishes. I said, "A drunk man's words are a sober man's thoughts. In vino veritas. In wine there is truth. Apologize when you remember what you said." He said, "I have been racking my brain all day. I can honestly say I didn't mean it." I laughed and told him, "No, you cannot. You can't honestly say anything if you can't remember. You hurt me, Matthew. You may not have meant to, but you did. In your anger, you came for me, with the one surefire way to cut me deep." He sighed and whispered, "I really am so very sorry. You are the last person in the world I would ever deliberately hurt. I didn't mean it. I promise you, I didn't. I will remember, and I will apologize, and mean it." I nodded. Then I said, "I need a little while. I will get over it. But I want you to take a couple days to think about how you see me, your true opinion of me, possibly reevaluate your feelings about me and about the mate bond. You have to be all in, or this, between us, this won't work. You have to accept everything about me, warts and all." He started to say, "I do, baby. I accept you in all ways." I was shaking my head. "Matthew, you have some fears. I get it. I do. I would probably have my doubts about me too. I am going to stay here tonight. We can talk tomorrow." He protested and tried saying I wasn't safe. I told him to put some patrol on the house then. I wasn't changing my mind. He quietly said, "I will have Cal get his team over here. I will rest easier if your gamma is with you. I really am sorry, Ella. I will fix this. If it takes every day for the rest of my life, I will earn your forgiveness." I walked over to him and wrapped my arms around him. He hugged me close and whispered, "Please don't give up on me, baby. I can't survive losing you." I replied, "You aren't going to lose me. I just think you jumped the gun a little bit with this mate business. You don't seem quite ready for it yet. I think you are trying to force it before you're ready because you feel it is expected of you. He immediately responded, I'm not. I swear I'm not. I am not rushing it. I love you, Ella. Of that there is no doubt. I smiled and said, Is it because you love me? Or because the bond tells you that you're supposed to? Because I can honestly say I love you. I fell in love with you, without the benefit of the bond. I guess I'm the lucky one here. He opened his mouth to say something. Then he closed it, and leaned down, kissing me. He whispered against my lips, I do love you. I will prove it. I nodded, and watched him leap off the porch, shifting into frost. He ran for the wood line, and I watched him run out of sight. I heard a sorrowful howl, and the first tear fell.
Chapter 16, I Will Earn It, Matthew's POV.
I allowed Frost his head, my mind a jumbled mess of what I might have said that made her doubt me so profoundly. I asked Frost, can you search our memories from last night? I really have to fix this. Buddy, I will run through them. Play them for us. Hopefully, I can help out. Abalone isn't talking to me either. He started showing yesterday's memories. When we reached the ones of us in the study drinking, he showed me snapping at Ella and her walking out. I followed her and caught up with her in the hallway, outside her room. I snarled. I didn't mean to snap. It's frustrating. I have more traitors in this pack than I thought. I am being betrayed every time I turn around. She said, I can understand your frustration, and you have me now. Together we can find the traitors. I huffed and told her, you have only just found out you're a wolf. You can't help until you understand our ways. You don't get it, Ella. I am responsible for 13,000 people. It's like one huge family, and they're all fighting over the last biscuit. You haven't lived that dynamic. You have only been responsible for yourself. It's definitely not the same. She gasped and nodded. Okay, you're right. Forgive my misunderstanding. I growled. You're young, Ella. Not even an adult yet. I don't expect you to understand. I'm just frustrated. Again, she nodded. I get it. Really, I do. I'm going to bed now. You may want to consider it. 2. You have a lot on your agenda tomorrow. Hunting down your traitors. And she left me standing in the hallway, and I felt it to my very core. I fucked up. I insulted her age, her intelligence, even her gifts. No wonder she's so hurt. I am an asshole. I linked my mom and asked her to meet me in the office. By the time I arrived back at the pack house, she was waiting. She took one look at my face and asked, What's happened, monkey butt? I started to tear up, and she hugged me. I whispered, I hurt her, Mom. I was drunk and said some really stupid shit. I made her feel less than. I have to fix it. I told her everything I had said to Ella, and then everything Ella had said to me tonight. Mom asked, Is anything Ella said accurate, son? Do you love her? Or is the bond pulling you to her? I thought about it for a hard minute. Shook my head. No. It was the pull of the bond at first. It's not now. I love her. I have no doubts about that. I don't know why I said all that shit. I don't have any doubts, Mom. But I made her feel like I do. I am terrified. There are people hunting her. There's a bounty on her head. What if she's taken? How will I survive that? Mom scoffed. How will you survive? How would she? Would she fight? Or would she just surrender to whatever fate those assholes plan for her? Do you plan on locking her up in some ivory tower to keep her safe? She may be young, Maddie, but she isn't immature. She's a grown woman in spirit. She's had to be, being responsible for herself. She survived. She fought back. She thrived. I pinched the bridge of my nose. I really stepped in it. This time, I made her think I am not ready to be mated. I made her feel like I don't care about her feelings. I have to fix this. I can't leave it like this. I have to get her to forgive me. I stood up to head back to Ella's house and Mom said, "Is that wise, son? Why don't you give her tonight? Let her get her thoughts in order." I shook my head. "I can't, Mom. I have to tell her how much she means to me." I jumped in my truck and flew down the road as fast as I dared. I had only one thought: to get to Ella and beg her forgiveness. She opened the door to me, her dark hair wild and down around her face. Her beautiful eyes were red and puffy. I pulled her into my arms and held her as close to me as I possibly could. I whispered, "I am so sorry, my love. I didn't mean anything I said to you. I don't think that way. I certainly don't feel that way. I value everything about you. I didn't mean to treat you like a child. I certainly didn't realize how condescending I sounded. I lashed out at you because you were there. I was frustrated and angry. So many questions were battering my brain, and I couldn't see past my own nose. I was wallowing in self-pity, and I took it out on you." She said, "𝒚𝒍𝒂𝒚, can we go inside? It's chilly. I'm barely dressed, and it's 2 a.m. I chuckled and picked her up. Carrying her inside to the sofa, I sat with her on my lap. Just breathing her in, I asked, "Will you be able to forgive me? I know I am asking a lot. I was an ass. I lashed out at you. Instead of just telling you what was going on in my head, I allowed the situation to overwhelm me. Yes, you are young, but I don't think of you as childish. You have overcome more things than most people ever encounter. You are strong, capable, and decisive." She told me, "You hurt me, Matthew. You made me feel like I didn't matter. Don't do it again. I matter. My feelings matter. My opinions matter. If we aren't in this relationship on a 5,050 basis, we aren't in it at all." I pulled her tighter into me and said, "I am in it, 100%. You are the most important person in the world to me. That I caused you such pain kills me. I will do better, my love. I will be better. I promise." She giggled and responded, "I love that you didn't say you would try. You committed to doing better. Being better. Thank you, Matthew." I grinned. "I will prove I am worthy of your love. I will earn it."
Chapter 17. Unfucking Believable. Matthew's POV.
It took a couple days for Ella to start feeling comfortable and back to herself. That told me, more than anything, how badly I had hurt her. I hated myself for it. She wanted to talk to the girls that had been meeting Tyler and the man she caught at her house. Apparently, humans suffer greatly if they're knocked out twice in a row. He hasn't been awake too much, and the doctor said he needed a few days. Who knew? Ella came bouncing through the office door, and I looked up sharply. It startled me. She grins and asked, "Should I knock?" I laughed, shaking my head. I held my hand out to her. When she took it, I knew we are okay. She took my hand. "It's our thing." I snuggled into her and asked, "Are we going to the cells?" She nodded her adorable little head and told me, "Yeah, I want to see how dark their hearts are. They may just be two girls crushing on a guy." I smiled and said, "Or they are traitors and sharing pack information." She laughed and repeated, "Or they are traitors and sharing pack information." We got to the cells and Maverick says, "We keep filling them up. We got the first 4 remaining traitors, the 2 Omegas and the new guy." I said, "Let's see about sending the 4 to the kingdom. Let them be Damien's problem." He laughed and nodded. Walking away, he replied, "Yeah, you get to ask." Ella and I had the girls in separate interrogation rooms, with Cal and Maverick monitoring the interviews. We walked in holding hands, and Beth's eyes widened. She said, "Are you mates?" I growled, emitting alpha dominance into the room. She hunched in on herself from the pressure. Ella squeezed my hand, and I pulled it back, saying, "We ask the questions. You only speak when spoken to." Ella said, "Beth, is it?" At her nod, Ella continued, "What did you girls talk to Tyler about?" Beth stuttered and stumbled. "Nothing. Not really. He talked about being a rogue. How great it was. The freedom of not answering to an alpha, or even the throne." Ella asked, "That's not all. What kind of questions did he ask you?" She shrugged. "Normal ones. How large is our pack? Did we have many warriors? How many girls work in the pack house with us?" I always thought they were more than mere curiosity, so I fed him false information. Allie was a little more friendly with him than I was. Ella smiled and responded, "Allie is crushing harder than you. Is he, by chance, her mate?" Beth was already shaking her head. "No, they didn't act like mates. None of the markers seemed present. But what do I know? I haven't found my mate, and I am already 22. I could see wheels turning in Ella's head. Literally, little gears churning. Should I be worried? I think I should consider being concerned. She mind links me. We need to arrange something for the lower ranks. They need to be able to search for their mates. I will speak with Jolene. And I realize she is already embracing the role of Luna. Without realizing, she is instinctively reacting to the pain of one of our Omegas. I also realized I had worried she wasn't ready, needlessly. As we stood to go question Allie, I told Beth, "You will be released back to the kitchen staff. However, you are restricted from going into town for 3 months. You are allowed to traverse only the immediate territory. Beth, I am serious. Any violation of my order will see you put to death for treason." She murmured, "Yes, Alpha," and we left her there to be processed out. Ella practically skipped into the room. "Allie, let's chat about Tyler, shall we?" Allie looked directly at me, pointedly ignoring Ella, and said, "I am not sure what I can tell you, Matthew. Tyler is just a guy I met. We shared a few dances, drinks, small talk. I don't know where he lives, or where he is from." I growled out, "By what right do you address me by my given name? I am Alpha Landon to you. If you ever use my name again without my leave, you will be severely punished. That's one. The second was disrespecting my mate, your future Luna. The third was blatantly lying to me." Ella giggled, "Damn girl. You're already out and barely got up to bat. Let's start over, shall we? Tell us, Allie, what information did you freely give to Tyler?" She practically sneered at Ella. "I don't care what Beth told you. She's just jealous Tyler likes me better." Ella immediately linked me dark heart. She is harboring resentment, whether directly at Beth or you. I can't read yet. "Keep her talking, please," I said. "Amazing. You automatically assumed Beth would implicate you. She didn't, by the way. But I am seeing you taking the opportunity to try and throw her under the bus. I thought she was your friend." Allie snarls, "She's always trolling. The only reason she goes with me at all is because she hopes her mate will appear. Like he's going to pop in while she's out wandering downtown." Ella laughs. "It could happen. Happened to me." Allie snarks, "You don't know. Your birthday isn't for 4 days. We should know. We have all been forced to prepare for it." I responded, "Forced is a harsh word, don't you think? Forced implies no choice. Are you not employed by the pack? Do you not receive a generous paycheck every 2 weeks? If you are dissatisfied, I suggest you leave your position. I have stacks of applicants who would love the job you so casually denigrate." Ella asked, "Allie, is your family originally from here, or did they take refuge here, from one of the other 2 packs incorporated 20 years ago?" Allie looked directly at me again, ignoring Ella, and said, "My family is from River Run. It's just Mom and me now. But you wouldn't know about that. My dad just walked off in the night a few months ago." I growled. "You deliberately disrespected your Luna again. There will not be a third time. Best believe that. Did your mother report the absence of your father? Did he leave willingly? Why wouldn't a search for him have been organized? You see, apparently, River Run refugees must not be following pack protocol. Without following rules, we can't address your issues." She replied, "My mother said it would do no good to report it, that it is best to keep it on the down low, or you would brand my dad a traitor and kill us by association." Ella said, "Yet you didn't hesitate to tell Alpha Landon. Tell us, Allie, are you unhappy here? Are you mistreated? You do know all that requires is a pack transfer requisition, right?" Again, she looked at me, and I started to growl low in my throat. Ella said, "Oh, I get it now. She's been conditioned, brainwashed to only respond to male authority. I believe you need to address all the River Run 𝒂𝒏." I grinned at her. "You're so smart. The pack within my pack. That's what you meant." I slanted my eyes back to Allie and told her, "You have left me with no choice. The amount of disrespect you have shown will no longer be tolerated. I command you to tell me what information you have divulged to that rogue, and you will do it now." She quietly said, "I didn't tell him much. I'm an Omega. What do I know? I did get close to Brady on border patrol. I got patrol shift schedules from him. I stole them from his office when I tricked him to get me something to drink. I gave those to Tyler. I told him about you thinking she's your mate. He asked about our warriors. How many archers, marksmen, snipers? All that? I could only tell him hundreds. Since I don't know, he asked questions about her. But I don't know much. I told her that may be the only thing that saves your life. Your ignorance. My mate's name is Ella. Remember it. This bullshit ends now. You will remain in custody until it is determined what shall be done." Unfucking believable.
Chapter 18, About Damn Time. Alice POV.
We are standing in the backyard, watching all the River Run former pack mates amass. Matthew was done playing around. They wanted a stern alpha, an arrogant asshole. All I can think is, be careful what you wish for. Once everyone had assembled, Matthew addressed them, "Former River Run pack members, when you transferred to Bear Creek, taking your oath of fealty to first my father, then in turn to me. You chose to leave behind all rules and regulations you had previously learned to live by. You agreed to follow Bear Creek protocol. It has come to my attention that some of you are still following the ways of Alpha Taylor. Instead of my edicts, it is done. I am over it. After today, anyone caught not following my rules will be dealt with harshly. I command you now, tell me your grievances. If you are betraying me or my pack, you will tell me now." 3 men stepped aside. The eldest speaking, "We want to leave the pack, Alpha. At River Run, we went on raids. We were allowed to keep whatever contraband we confiscated. That's how a lot of us found our mates. That is how we supported ourselves. Since coming here, we have all taken a severe financial hit." Matthew said, "Forced mates, you mean? And no, we do not run raids. We do not steal property. And we don't. We absolutely do not ever kidnap people to force them into a life of servitude. You have 1 hour to vacate my territory. You, of course, are allowed to freely approach the king if lone wolf status is what you seek. But do not expect me to facilitate your applications. As of right now, you are rogue. I suggest you get moving. The rest of you, your affiliation with anything to do with River Run and the old ways Taylor utilized is over. You either acclimate, immerse yourself in Bear Creek tradition and protocols, or you are banished. This little pack within a pack mentality? Done. Fucking done. You want to know what happens when you take a bull by the horns? Continue on this path? I dare you. A small, timid woman asked, Alpha Landon, my husband, mate, whatever, is one of the three you just made rogue. Can my bond be broken? I don't want to leave. I immediately went to her and brought her to the front. Matthew asked, any other family who wish to remain, please step forward. The woman's children stepped out from the crowd and took her hands. A younger female stepped forward. I want to stay. Please, Alpha. I don't want to go with my parents. I don't want to be rogue. Please? Matthew smiled gently. How old are you now, Lena? She answered she was 15. He said, I will allow you to apply for emancipation. Under our laws, you are welcome to stay. Absolutely. I watched Matthew, and my whole body infused with pride. He is becoming the alpha he was always meant to be, right before my eyes. The blood of our goddess runs through his veins. His healer's heart makes him want to always be that empathetic, compassionate healer, and he is, without hesitation. But his alpha blood is telling him it is time to stand up and be counted. I glanced over to the lanai and saw Jeline and Blake looking on with such pride on their faces. I knew it reflected my own. It also tells me we were both growing. We are coming into our own and maturing as we grow. And what a beautiful thing it is. The goddess made us for each other, and now we are discovering what we are made of together. Matthew looks out over the crowd and tells them, any other grievances, this is your last opportunity to voice them. After today, consider your little rebellion quashed. I will tolerate no more of this bullshit. Another woman stepped out. Alpha. My name is Bernadette. My daughter Allie has been missing for nearly 3 days. I need help. Matthew responded, she is not missing. Your daughter is in lockup. She is accused of treason. She also informed me your mate left this pack a few months ago. Care to enlighten me as to why you not only failed to alert the proper authorities, but also told your daughter not to mention it? Bernadette stammered. My mate said I was not to tell anyone, so that he could return without having to answer questions. I asked, how is it he was not missed? Does he not have a job? Someone he reports to? Shaking her head, we collect a pack stipend. Willie was injured a year ago and had to have a kidney removed. He had been going off pack doing odd jobs to compensate our loss of income. Allie took the job in the kitchen to help out. Matthew asked, what sort of odd jobs? How much compensation? Again shaking her head, I don't know. All our finances are handled by Willie. A woman's job is to take care of her mate and their home. A man's is to provide and protect. Matthew allowed Frost his head, and a roaring growl shook the ground around us. Maverick whispered, big puppy pissed, and I giggled. Matthew said, loudly, this bullshit right here. This way of thinking is exactly why we must unify. I am not joking when I say it ends today. Every single one of you are to enroll in a course on pack rules and regulations. No exceptions. No excuses. He looked directly at Bernadette and said, you all have 24 hours to enroll in classes. You are now dismissed. Bernadette, you come with me. We have some things to discuss. We all fell into step behind him as G lead Bernadette to his office. Blake and Jeline behind Maverick and me. Once everyone was seated, Matthew said, I want you to know, Bernadette, we will be going through your financial records. Everything about your lives will be gone over with a fine-toothed comb. I fear your mate has betrayed this pack. If you know anything at all, now would be the time to come forward with it. I am done giving second chances. My compassion has been misconstrued as weakness once too often. She sat back and said, Willie kept financial records and a journal. He has a safe in his den. I don't know the combination, or how difficult it is to get into. I wasn't allowed to know, or question his motives, or decisions. I was never permitted an opinion. My job is to blindly obey and never make him mad. I looked at Matthew and said, Seems that Neanderthal mentality is alive and well with the refugees who have refused to conform to their new pack rules. He nods. Yeah, that shit is done. Or they will be homeless. Maverick grins, and a new and improved alpha appears. Blake laughed about damn time.
Chapter 19, A Balone Wolf, Nutshell, Matthew's POV.
Waking up today, knowing this is the day Ella will know we are mates, has me so excited I jumped out of bed, practically bounced through my shower, and by the time I was pulling my t-shirt over my head, Ella had run into my room and launched herself into my arms. Balone was shining bright in her eyes and growled, Mate. I laughed. Kissing her nose, I said, Hello, Balone. Allowing Frost to bleed through. He said, Mate, in response, and kissed her nose, forehead and cheeks before locking his lips on hers. Halfway through, both wolves retreated, allowing Ella and I to complete the kiss. I whispered, I, Alpha Matthew August Landon of Bear Creek, accept you, Ella Rose Cassidy of Bear Creek, as my mate and my Luna. She grinned and said, I, Ella Rose Cassidy of Bear Creek Pack, accept you, Alpha Matthew Landon, as my mate and my alpha. As soon as she finished speaking, our bond snapped into place. A rumble of power infused our bodies as we were pushed apart by the force of it. What the fuck was that? I reached for her, and the sparks were so explosive our hair ignited in static electricity, making it stand on end. She started laughing, and then it struck me funny as well. She giggled, Let's hope that shit calms down. I don't want this as my permanent hairstyle, making me laugh harder. My mood changed to seriousness. Come sit down with me. I want to talk to you about something important. I led her to the sofa. Her eyes were huge in her face, and she was as pale as a ghost. I chuckled. Baby, I said it was important. Not bad. There is a full moon in 2 weeks. We could have your Luna ceremony. If you are ready and want to take that leap with me, it would make me the happiest wolf on the planet. She smiled. I was thinking this conversation was going in an entirely different direction. People have given up on me my whole life. I was kinda expecting the same at this time. I have been so scared since our argument. My poor baby. She has survived so much. Her feelings of abandonment aren't going to go away overnight. I whispered, I'm not ever going anywhere, my love. Not ever. And if I have to win your heart every day, if I have to prove my love every day, I will do it gladly. And when you get anxious, or scared, or sad, I will be right here to love you through it. On those days, I vow to love you harder. She snuggled into me and said, Do skill no food? What the fuck? I busted out laughing and said, What did you say? She sat up and said, You smell so good. What did you think I said? I chuckled at myself. Not that. It's not important. It was too muffled. She giggled and said, You made up something stupid in your head. Just admit it. So I did the only thing I could do in that moment. I wasn't about to admit it. I tickled her instead, and I tickled her, all through her begging me to stop, trying to kick me and wiggle away, right up until she threatened to pee on me. Yeah, that's a game changer right there. We went down to breakfast together, and Mom met us at the dining hall doors. Well, I hugged my mom, kissed her, and swung her around. This tiny woman is my hero. We were both laughing when I announced, I have officially found and accepted my mate. Help me in welcoming your Luna, Ella Cassidy. Everyone applauded, and we took our seats, my mom chattering up a blue streak. Then I had an idea to take the pressure off Ella and the ceremony. I linked her my idea, and she squealed, out loud and in the link. The entire link. I know this because every single pack member at breakfast grabbed their heads at the same time. A voice in the back said, "Alpha. Can we try not to make Luna that excited again?" Everyone laughed, and Ella asked, "What?" I was still grinning. You squealed. In the link. In the whole pack link. I am getting hit with smart-ass remarks from Border Patrol now. She started laughing and said, "Sorry." I stood and said, "Now that Luna has gotten your attention, in 2 weeks we are holding a gala. It will be a Luna ceremony and a mating ball. We will be inviting 10 Omegas from every neighboring pack, with their rank and file, all our unmated members. Everyone will show up. We are going to start helping everyone find their mates." Everyone started talking at once. Ella said, "Any one of you ladies who need help getting a gown and shoes, come speak with Mom and me tomorrow." They all started clapping at that. Ella whispered, "Matthew, I don't feel well." I smoothed her hair back, and her skin was hot as fire. I looked at my mom. "She's burning up, Mom. Do we get an ice bath ready?" Mom said, "I only have to add some ice." I knew we would need it. I lifted her and ran for the infirmary, my parents right behind me. I stood her on her feet and pulled her t-shirt over her head. Mom was filling the tub with ice. I had her jeans off and was lowering her into the ice bath in a few minutes. Dad said, "Is she sleeping?" "How the hell is she sleeping with her bones and joints moving about to prepare for shifting?" I glanced up at him, told him, "I'm not sure, but I think it has something to do with what happened when we accepted each other this morning." Mom said, "What do you mean?" after I had explained it to them. Dad said, "I want to ask Liam. He's the kingdom's lead archivist. Hopefully, he's found something." Mom said, "She's special, more than we knew, more than we realized. The two of you will be in greater danger if we don't stop this hunters group." A sultry, incredibly SXY voice uttered, "We will stop them. I have seen where they are." And it took me a couple minutes to realize it was a Balon speaking, because it took that long for the blood that had rushed to my dick to make it back to my brain. I looked into her face, and Balon's sky blue eyes were glowing. I smiled. "You're stopping her pain, aren't you?" She scoffed at me. "Of course I am. She's taken too much pain. I have the ability now to take it from her." I nodded and kissed her forehead. About an hour later, a Balon asked to be brought outside. I lifted her out of the bath, and she shivered. I took her wet underwear off and wrapped her in a blanket. Then I carried her to the backyard. It took a Balon 20 minutes to break through. In Ella's place now stood a nearly 7-foot silver wolf, with black tips everywhere. She stood and shook her fur out. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I am a Balon." "Holy shit, she can talk? You can talk?" She snickers at me, snickers, then says, "Yes, a Balon." She bowed. "Wolf, not shell."
Chapter 20 They're Just Like Us. Alice POV.
A Balon played with Frost about an hour before they shifted back to get ready for the party. A Balon explained she was given the voice gift to speak with humans, and they decided to keep it a carefully guarded secret for the time being. As soon as we were dressed, I dragged everyone down to the cells, demanding Allie be put in interrogation. I walked directly to her, wrapping one hand around her wrist and holding her palm with the other. After about 10 minutes, I let go and opened my eyes. I locked them on Allie's eyes. "Someone has been a naughty little traitor. I won't kill you yet. I will wait until your mate comes looking." And he will. Tisk, tisk, Allie. There's always consequences when you decide to betray your pack, your alpha. She snarled. You're just trying to get me to say something that isn't true. It won't work. I'm not stupid. I laughed. Ya kinda are. First, that man is no more your mate than your father was your mother's. Secondary. Omitting information from your alpha is treason. You lucked the fuck out when Alpha Landon didn't ask if that was all. Third, you have been to the new base camp several times, once, on your own. You stole not only patrol schedules, you stole our weapons inventory list, the names of all our weapons specialists, how many warriors we have active on any given day of the month. You gave the hunters an awful lot of damaging information. And the cherry on top, you and my mother are friends. Matthew glared at her. You will remain in the cells. You will be executed for treason. But not yet. We have more pressing matters the next couple weeks. One of them being finding your little boyfriend. We left her in the cell and went to join the party. Pack members were grilling out. Music was playing and people were dancing. I spoke with many of the Omegas, and they all had questions. I explained to them that after the gala, my plan was to send any remaining unmated people out in teams of 6. They would have a week to tour the nearby 10 packs, searching for their mate. If they find them, releasing them from the pack just takes a phone call. Matthew led me out to the dance floor and spun me around. He asked, "Is it too presumptuous of me to ask if you will sleep in my room?" Frost won't sleep comfortably without abalone now. I smiled. Oh, sure, blame it on poor Frost. Like he would be the only one not sleeping. I was going to anyway. Lucky you. We danced several songs, then took a break to fill Mom and Dad in on what 𝑎balone did with Allie. Mom said, the eye of the moon. We need to have Liam research 𝑎balone. The wolf, not the shell. We all laughed at that. My eyes glowed and 𝑎balone said, "Don't bother, I can tell you." And Dad was calling Damien over. I hadn't realized they had even come to my party. I smiled and thanked them. We all went to Matthew's office and settled in. I was on Matthew's lap. Because according to him, there wasn't enough seats. Lynette asked, "What are we waiting for? I need to know these things. Inquiring minds and all that." Damien said, "Liam, baby, he will be here soon." She huffed and sat back against the cushions. When Liam arrived, 𝑎balone took over. My name in a liberal sense means spiritual protector. This is my 3rd life cycle. I live a very long time. Well, not the 2nd time. Some idiot heard my blood could grant him immortality. Didn't realize it didn't work that way. I digress. I am the eyes of the goddess. When my eyes are glowing, it means the goddess is watching with me. Matthew is her heart, meaning his blood can heal any member of his family, extended family, and pack, while it is toxic to anyone else. Once we have marked and mated, his blood will behave like an acid if it gets on anyone. Frost could literally decide to bleed on someone, boiling their skin off their body. I am clairvoyant, but now my powers are coming back to me in this vessel. It started this morning when we accepted each other. Being a truth seer, I can now hold someone's hand and see their past and present. I can sift through their memories. I can see their future too. But I won't bother with that. I simply don't care. And it frustrates me if their future intertwines with mine. I can't see it anyway, so I stick with not knowing. I was given my voice because there will be times when I will have to interact with humans and other species. Saves me having to shift back naked in front of a bunch of strange men. The moon goddess sends me to Earth when she needs eyes on the ground. She looks through my eyes into the souls of her wolves. The ones that are faltering, she speaks directly to them. If she finds them beyond redemption, she sends them home. Within a week or two, the vessel dies off too. A balloon faded to the back of my mind, and Calvin said, "That is fucking awesome. Luna walks around being our regular everyday Luna. Until Moon Goddess decides she wants to have a look-see." I laughed and asked, "How many times were you dropped on your head?" When he replied 3. No, 4, he thinks? I lost it. I was joking. He was dead serious. I said, "A balloon will call the Moon Goddess to have a look-see if she believes the wolf spirit is in trouble. She doesn't just randomly pop in, Cal." He starts nodding and says, "That's even cooler. Our Luna has the Moon Goddess on speed dial." I just shook my head. Sometimes you just have to stop talking. Matthew says, "Is it wrong? I kind of want to go to the cells and see if my blood is toxic to humans. Maybe see if I can burn his leg or something." I laughed. Science. A theory cannot be proven without a little experimentation. Matthew laughed. "Yeah, because we don't know if I can be used as a weapon against the humans." I giggled. "You are most definitely a weapon, whether you bleed on them or not. I'm still curious, though." Dad said, "Oh, goddess, no wonder they're mates. They're just like us."
Chapter 21. Let's try that. Matthew's POV.
The next several days were spent planning the gala. Ella and I did experiment with a human. My blood makes his skin boil off. But because humans struggle with believing supernatural beings are anything more than souped-up humans, their minds are closed much tighter than werewolves. Ella only got a jumbled mess of pieces that didn't fit together when she looked into his mind. I was walking into the ballroom when I heard Calvin say, "Oh my goddess, I just got that reference. All this time. Now it makes sense." And I look over at Ella standing up from the fireplace, shaking her head ruefully. I asked, "What weird-ass dank little rabbit hole is your brain spiraling down this time, Alice?" Calvin immediately claps back. "Her name? Cinderella. Cinderella." I told Ella she had cinders on her face from the fireplace. Then everything clicked. Ella was doubled over, holding her sides, guffawing like a little old man telling a dirty joke, while I'm still as confused as a fart in a fan factory. I said, "It sounded like you had solved the meaning of the universe. What about Cinderella?" Calvin, in a voice like he would use on a confused toddler, explains, "Luna was clearing ash from the fireplace. She wiped her face at some point. I said, 'Your face is covered in cinders, Ella Cinders. Ella, Cinder, Ella, Cinderella,' because she was their housemaid." I actually groaned out loud. Yeah, I'm having serious doubts it was only 4 times. I'm picturing them running to the 2nd floor, dropping you out the window just to see if you'd land on your head. He gasped and said, "Well, that's just mean." I have an aha moment thinking Prince Charming's wife struggled with not only being abused, but an unfortunate name. To discover, all on my own, I might add, that her name was perfectly normal and just a compilation of her dirty face and her actual name. And you attack my intelligence. Mean. Hugging Ella close, I asked, "How? How do you put up with his asinine chatter?" She giggled. "He's fun. He's like a little kid when it comes to all things girly. He found out earlier that Dory only had a 3-second memory instead of amnesia." I said, "What? Who's Dory? What caused her memory loss?" Calvin rolled his eyes. "She's a fish. Not just any fish, but a blue tang. She doesn't lose her memory. All fish suffer from memory retention. Right, Luna?" Ella nods, giggling again. And I feel like I have entered an alternate reality. I finished helping Ella clean the fireplace. We painted the inside a beautiful metallic gold, and Ella arranged various sized candles with white flowers all around them, placing a new all-glass screen in front of it. I have to admit, it looks classy and will add an elegant touch to the standard log fire usually there. since it's a fireplace, and it's supposed to have one job: her ceremony, her decision. Mom came in, squealing and jumping up and down with Ella over the chic new fireplace, and will look beautiful with the royal adjutant pack colors. Busy, that's what it's going to do. Mesh right into busy. Too many rich colors: emerald green, sapphire blue, and gold. Too busy. I left them to finish their decorations, because, quite frankly, it didn't hold my interest long. While it may sound chauvinistic, I honestly do feel, in my case, decorating anything is definitely not my forte. I appreciate things looking pretty, organized, colorful. I just don't care how those things reach that destination. Maverick mind-linked me that Bernadette had notified him Willie contacted her. I went directly to my office to hear what he may have told her. Dad met up with me, and we walked to the office together. Maverick was waiting with Bernadette. I sat and asked, "How did Willie get in touch with you? Link? Or in person?" She immediately responded, "Mind link," which means he has to be close to the border. My mind link isn't strong. Being an Omega, I can only reach to the borders, and he knows it. Being a warrior, his is stronger, but he can't hear me unless he's close. I inwardly groan. Dear Goddess, what is with everyone today? Incessant nonsensical chatter seems to be today's format. And I didn't get the memo. Like I don't know how weak or strong a mind link is. Nonetheless, I smile and ask, "What specifically did he want from you?" She nods, telling me, "He wanted me to send Allie to the den tonight. She's supposed to meet some man there. To get some bugs. I don't know what kind of bugs. Or even why. Willie knows an exterminator comes once a month. So even if she turned bugs loose in the pack house, they wouldn't live long." My eyes literally felt like they were going to pop right out of my face. Maverick ran from the office, choking on a laugh. My father, bless his soul, had his face down, shoulders shaking and both hands covering his mouth, leaving me to deal with the fallout. Assholes. Clearing my throat, I said, "I believe the bugs he is referring to are listening devices that he wanted your daughter to plant around the pack house. Perhaps to spy on us?" She smiled. Oh, that makes better sense then. I told him Allie is restricted to pack proper, that you have forbidden her and Beth from going to town, because they had been caught out with a rogue. Dad commended, "Fast thinking, Bernadette. You did good. Thank you so much for coming directly to us." "What did he say after you told him?" She gulped loudly. "That's why I am here. He said I have to do it. I told him I don't know where that den is. I have only been to town 3 times in all my time here. I don't even drive a car. He told me to run to town. My wolf is refusing. Dreama said it's betraying the alpha and she won't shift." I smiled. Her wolf is loyal. That's good to know. I told her, "If he contacts you again, stall him. Tell him you can send someone to pick up a package to bring to you. But your wolf isn't doing well with the separation from her mate. That should stroke his ego enough to come up with a different plan." After she left, and Maverick returned, I let him know to get warriors stationed all around town. Send some to the den. They are to hang out, drink a few beers, shoot pool. Dad said, if Willie bites and agrees to a courier of sorts, having the ones inside the bar creating a diversion would be helpful in deflecting unnecessary questions from the rogue. I agreed and responded, "I doubt they will bite. I just want eyes on strange faces and boots on the ground. I want Willie and this Tyler bastard in custody. It's obvious Willie is working with the hunters. I want whatever information has been gathered from his journal. Today, Maeve." He grinned. As luck would have it, Willie's safe was gotten into not even an hour ago. We will have answers soon. Whether they are helpful or not remains to be seen. I said, if not, we stake out the den and bring in anyone who looks suspicious at this point. Dad smiled. That might be a solid plan. Let's try that.
Chapter 22. I hope so too. Alice POV.
It's been a hectic 10 days. Matthew has staked out the bar since Bernadette told him about Willie. Personally, I think Willie got spooked when he found out about Allie. They all had it in their heads Matthew was going to continue looking past the blatant disregard for his rules. He's changing that. Much to the chagrin of the Taylor ex-followers. The gala is tonight, and I am on pins and needles. Only the upper ranks are inside. I had arranged tents in the clearing for everyone else. After my ceremony, we will split into groups, and hopefully some matchups will happen tonight. My gown is simple. Gold silk, fitted to my body, flaring halfway down my thighs to a short train, spaghetti straps and open-backed, with a purple velvet chain hanging at my hips, my dark hair pulled into a high chignon, ringlet curls framing my face. Jolene and I helped 20 of our girls get dresses and shoes. I wanted everyone to feel pretty. We dream of meeting our mate when we are at our best. And when you look good, you feel good. Ari and Gabai had just left, making me feel so much more a part of this amazing family. They said they would send Blake to walk me down the aisle. As soon as my eyes landed on Matthew, every doubt, every fear I had didn't matter anymore. My heart belonged completely to the man in front of me, and the way he's looking back at me tells me he feels the same way. Blake hands me over to Matthew as he stands beside Damien. Damien performs the ceremony, and I pledge to Matthew as my alpha and Bear Creek as my pack. I also swear to Damien and Lynette as my king and queen. When it was time for marking, he lifted me so that I could mark him at the same time he marked me. Our teeth extended, and I bit seconds after he did, making me groan into the pain. Pulling back and licking the wounds closed, he stood me on my feet and smiled into the crowd. I give you our Luna, Ella Landon. This calls for a pack run to meet a ballon. I stepped off the stage and stripped, shifting into a ballon. The pack came close in homage to their Luna. She refrained from speaking to hold to keeping the secret. She nudged her pack mates, nuzzled some of the she-wolves. Then Frost came over and rubbed his scent down. He nosed his chin up and sprang away, her hot on his heels. We ran the perimeter of the eastern border and packed to the pack house. We shifted and redressed, prepared to enjoy the night. A ballon was sated and snuggled up in a corner to rest. I checked to make sure the lower ranks party was going good. Everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, and I spotted a few couples pairing off already. Smiling to myself, I rejoined Matthew. He was in intense conversation with a couple visiting alphas. He wrapped his arm around me, pulling me in close. The alphas both smiled and excused themselves. Matthew asked, "Would you like to take a spin on the dance floor? Or could I talk you into a dance as old as time?" I giggled. "Oh, that was smooth. Great line. I choose option B." He scooped me up and slung me over his shoulder and ran for the stairs. We left the room to the sound of laughter. We reached our room. He stood me on my feet, and we were both nothing but lips and hands as we undressed each other. We had been fighting the urge to make love for so long, and it was all I could think of in that moment. He laid me down and whispered, "Bear with me, baby. The first time will hurt, but much to my embarrassment, it's not going to last long. It will be so much better the second time." I smiled at the blush on his cheeks and leaned up to kiss him deeply. "I trust you." We made love several times. Matthew had gotten up from the bed, and I was so exhausted, it didn't even register where he had gone. I felt him lift me from the bed. I didn't even care where he was taking me. until I felt my body being lowered into a warm tub of water. My sweet mate was bathing my sore body, taking care of me like I was his most precious treasure, and I fell more in love with him than I thought possible. He whispered, "I love you so much, Ella." I HMM'd and responded, "I have decided to love you till my dying breath. Every day, I discover something new to love about you. Thank you for allowing me to share this extraordinary life with you." He kissed me deeply and finished bathing us. We made love again before falling into the deepest sleep of my life. I could hear my name being called. I opened my eyes, but could see nothing. I was surrounded by a thick white mist. Hearing my name, spoken softly, in a gentle male's voice, "Ella, your powers are awakening. We didn't know if you had survived, child. When you fully mated, your soul called out. You are the only one of your kind. There has not been a surviving truth seer for several millennia. You will need to train. Your ability to hear the thoughts of others will be overwhelming at first. We will be there soon, daughter. Do not fret." My eyes flew open. I was gasping for breath, like I had been underwater for several minutes. I looked around for Matthew when the bathroom door opened completely. He stood wrapped in a towel, looking at me. When I hear, "Even your messy bedhead is SXY, how am I ever going to get any work done?" I giggled and tell him, "With me on your lap," he grinned. "That would only make it harder." I groaned and laughed at him. Is this who we are now? Corny sexual innuendos that make us giggle at our private jokes? He nodded and landed beside me on the bed. "Goddess, I hope so," making me laugh harder. Then realizing, I hope so too.
Chapter 23, That is Too Bizarre. Matthew's POV.
We made it down to breakfast. Everyone congratulating us before we could reach our seats. Ella gripped my hand tightly, rubbing her head. I sat down, pulling her into my lap. "Maybe? What's wrong? You're pale, shaking. What's going on?" she whispered, thinking thoughts. "I hear them. I hear them all. Please, make them stop thinking thoughts." I look helplessly at my mom, and she says, "Ella, Ella, can you read what everyone is thinking?" She nods and again whispered, "It's like they are talking to my brain. I don't know how to stop it. What is happening?" We agreed to move into the smaller family dining room. That helped a bit. But every now and then, Ella would giggle. I raised my eyebrow at her, and she shrugged. People think the strangest things. "Mom, why do you have one Pink Panther sock and one Grinch sock on?" Mom laughed and said, "I got dressed in the dark. I was just hoping no one would notice. But thanks for pointing it out." Dad cracked up. "This is going to be fun. Nobody's thoughts are safe." Ella shook her head. "Matthew's are. I can't hear his." I swallowed my bite of food and asked, "Why?" Shrugging, she replied, "It's probably because you are my mate. Like our future is shielded, your thoughts are too? I'm not sure. But someone came to me in my sleep, telling me they will be here soon to train my gifts. Again, I don't know." Then she said, "No, Calvin, you can't. It is physically impossible to lick your own elbow. You may as well go on and pay Ryan the 100 he bet you. Stop taking sucker bets," making me laugh when Calvin said, "Fuck a duck, dude. That's going to be annoying as hell." Ella went back to our room after breakfast. The cacophony of thoughts in her head had caused a migraine. Mom and Maverick were scouring the library, trying to find any books that might help us understand how to help her. Dad hangs up his phone saying Damien doesn't have a clue how to train her, but Lynette said she will run through her book of spells and see if she can come up with something that may help. Just as I nodded my head and went to respond, a booming sound, nearly the decibel of a sonic boom, sounded in the front yard. All of us took off running, falling over each other, to get out there and figure out what the hell was going on. Standing on the front lawn, 3 men, identical in face and stature, stood solemnly. In one voice they said, "We are Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos, oracles of fate. We are here for our daughter Ella." I said, "What? All 3 of you are saying you're her father?" Again collectively, they responded, "Yes, our DNA is identical. Regardless of which of us implanted the seed, the result is the same. She is our daughter." I mind-linked Ella to come out front, and as soon as she arrived, I realized that all of them had the same eyes. She walked into my arms, whimpering. "I feel so fucking helpless. I don't know how to help her." The trio said, "Fear not, young Matthew. That is why we have arrived." Maverick groaned. "That's freaky as fuck. Do they all have to talk at the same time?" They responded, "Yes." And it struck me funny. I looked at Ella and told her what the oracles had said. She replied, "I don't give a flying fuck if they are demons at this point. If they can train me to control this, then bring it on." The trio walked over to Ella. Together, they said, "Child, your gifts have awakened. We are so pleased. The first truth seer in nearly 3,000 years." Ella looked at them and back at me. Then she told them, "I suppose it's too much to ask to have only one of you talk? Here's a question. Do any of you have an original thought? How do you have conversations amongst yourselves?" They all smiled. "It is never necessary. We always know what we each will say. There is no need for expending needless energy wasting words." She mumbles, "This freaky shit is going to get old fast, so teaching me better not take too long." They responded, "We should have brought you to us before your awakening, which would have happened naturally on your 16th birthday if we had known the human incubator was actually a wolf. A slight miscalculation on our part." Ella lost it. She snarled, "What the fuck? So one of you decided to impregnate my mother and planned on taking me at birth?" They replied, "Not one of us, all of us. Once we realized you would be wolf, we had to wait until you were marked and mated. Now you can come back to Delphi and train." She growled, "I am not about to go anywhere. The way I see it, you will teach me how to control the thoughts I am hearing, then return to wherever you came from. I sure as fuck am not leaving with you." I had wrapped my arm around her waist and was holding her tight against me. No way in hell were these jack-offs taking my mate. What happens if you kill an oracle? Can you even kill an oracle? They almost smiled and said, "Matthew, killing an oracle seals the end of the world. We can be killed, of course, but at the cost of your soul. You have both passed your tests. Ella was tested on her resolve. You were tested on your strength. She refuses to leave your side. You will kill to prevent her being taken." I told them, "I would gladly surrender my soul to keep Ella safe. That is hardly a test." She snuggled into my arms and said, "I have a family. For the first time in my life. There is no way I would willingly leave those I love." They said, "Exactly. Shall we begin?" and walked inside the house. Dad said, "Have we been dismissed? It feels like we've been dismissed. In our own home." I laughed and said, "Let's get this over with and get these strange beings on their way." Ella laughs, "Providing we can locate them again. That weird mist that floats around them creeps me out." Maverick laughs, "It's the all talking in sync that does my head in. That is too bizarre."
Chapter 24. You're Adorable. Ella's POV.
It took 3 days to get the mind-reading thing under control. I now, the only thoughts that can breach my walls are very loud ones. I can single out anyone I choose to eavesdrop on. But to be honest, why couldn't I have any other superpowers? Mind reading? Seriously? Ooh. Let me get my crystal ball, and I will tell your fortune. I want to go invisible. That would be useful. Or flying. I could get used to that. I have felt a deeper connection to the moon goddess since I have been marked. She looks through my eyes more frequently now. Matthew's healing capabilities have strengthened to the point he can heal in seconds. Wounds and injuries that would take minutes, now healed in seconds. The oracles informed us together. We will be able to decipher a human's mind, even a non-believer. But we have to be together when we try it. So we did. We tried it on the human in ourselves. Not surprisingly, he didn't have any deep thoughts. He wondered what he was having for dinner, if his girlfriend was cheating on him, and when Edgar was going to rescue him. Matthew mind-linked my fathers were leaving. Standing joke now. Haha, very funny. There is no paternal connection. The trio are as much strangers to me now as the first day they popped in. If I never see them again, it would be too soon. Still creeped out, I said my goodbyes to the oracles, and they promised to check in on me from time to time. I tried assuring them it was totally unnecessary, but they insisted. In triplicate, they boomed away, the same way they arrived. I grinned at Matthew. Want to take your wife out for some drinks? I think there might be some thinking thoughts floating around the den. He laughed. Some thinking thoughts? Huh? You know what? Let's do it. We'll grab Maverick and Calvin and make a night of it. I ran upstairs and took a long shower. I had to do all the girls' night out preparation, shaving my legs and stuff, shaping my eyebrows, time-consuming crap. I slipped into dark skinny jeans and knee-high heeled boots, gold halter top and black leather jacket. Hot, with 2 T's. I skipped down to Matthew's office, and he was wearing dark jeans and a black tee with a leather fuking jacket. Yes, he looked me up and down, pulling his bottom lip between his teeth. Damn, my core clenched. I felt that. He smirks and damn, I am a lucky man, I giggled. I am pretty damned lucky too, Studley. He kissed me while still laughing. We reached the den just as it was getting busy. A good 30 people already, but still nearly an hour before the band's first set. We waded through the sea of people to a booth in the corner. Matthew went to the bar to get the first round, and I started tuning in to conversations around us. Calvin laughed and told me I look constipated when I concentrate so hard. Asshole, Matthew made it back, kissing my forehead. He asked, anything interesting popping up? It's probably too early yet. Beth said he usually wandered in around 10 on average. I nodded. I grinned. There's a whole bunch going on, though. The 2 girls at the high-top table by the window are looking to get laid, and not the same guys as last week. The tall one has a small dick. The couple in the corner are arguing. Oh nope, he just broke up with her. Now he's trying to talk her into goodbye SX one last time. He doesn't know she's posting a video of him with his neighbor's wife, along with the audio of him begging for goodbye SX. Instagram is a beautiful thing. We all laughed and Maverick said, Goddess, don't go crawling around in my brain. I laughed. You guys are the first ones I learned to block out. Are you kidding me? Have you heard some of the shit that comes out of Calvin's mouth? Now imagine all the things he doesn't say out loud. It's scary up there, dude. Calvin said, hey, I'm not that bad, making Matthew laugh. Bro, you're the worst. Which is why we love you like a brother. You're free entertainment. We danced a few songs and had moved toward the back of the bar to shoot pool. Matthew and I played partners against Mav and Cal. We were playing 8-ball and monopolizing the table. It was my turn to grab a round, so I headed to the bar. I picked up on some loud thoughts coming through and listened while I waited for our drinks. I headed back to the table and mind-linked the guys, a man in the right corner of the bar. talking to 3 lone wolves. He said his name is Ray. Maybe, maybe not. But he's recruiting. Talking about the mountain men. And Edgar offering $200 a day. Maverick said. Pulled some warriors into town. Should be here in 5 minutes or so. It's best to have them here and not need them than the alternative of needing them and not having them here. Matthew surreptitiously made his way to the men's room, directly passing the table where Ray sat with the lone wolves. He wanted to memorize his face. I stayed focused on the conversation at that table. 2 of the loners were becoming interested, while the third one seemed to be the voice of reason. I tell Matthew he might be able to speak with him about it. His name is Kevin, and he works at the hardware store. Matthew walked straight to their table. Kevin, I thought that was you. How are things going over at the hardware store? It's been a while. I sat, face-palmed, mind-linking Matthew. I didn't mean right this second. He chuckled, telling me no time like the present. Calvin asked, does Matthew know that guy? I shook my head no. As Cal went on about that being the reason Matthew is alpha and not him, since he's not as good with people, Maverick said, yep, Calvin, that is precisely why you're not alpha. Your poor people skills, not your inability to focus on a single thought or stay on task. Matthew walked back to us and grinned. Kevin is coming out to the pack house tomorrow. We are ordering 2 new doors to replace the damaged ones. Maverick said, there's not any damaged doors at home, Matt. He grinned again. Calvin, you have a job when we get home. Let's see how long it takes you to break through 2 doors, shall we? Calvin's response to that was, can I use my head like a battering ram? I gasped and Matthew laughed. Sure you can, bro. Just don't break your neck like last time. What the fuck? And they wonder why Cal struggles putting 2 coherent thoughts together. 3 guys walked in the bar, and I said, don't look now. Fred just walked in with that Tommy and another wolf. They seem to be looking for someone. Matthew unobtrusively looked over at the 3 men and growled lowly. He turned to Maverick and nodded. Their silent signals are frustrating. I need to learn their particular subtle body languages. Matthew laughed. You said that out loud, baby girl. You're adorable.
Chapter 25. We start getting answers. Matthew's POV.
Keeping an eye on Fred, mostly because of the way he treated my mate her entire life, but also because of what he is, a low-life human trafficker. Watching him so close, I almost missed the Tommy guy slipping something into a girl's drink. I glanced at Ella and said, we need a diversion, baby. Tommy and his little buddy look to be drugging girls tonight. She slapped Calvin. The look on his face was enough to make me lose my shit. She yelled, my tits are my own. It doesn't matter if you can guess what size they are by their weight. Everyone laughed except Calvin. He was still shocked and backpedaling like he was guilty. What? I would never. Well, I have. But I would never with you. I swear to Goddess if I touched your boobs, it was totally an accident. While he was explaining, I went around grabbing the 3 drinks I knew had been altered. Unfortunately, the 4 men we had been watching slipped away. I told Calvin to take Ella home, while Maverick and I joined our warriors in tracking Fred's group. I watched them both get in the truck, Ella explaining and apologizing to Calvin about why she slapped him. Goddess, I love that girl. It didn't require much tracking. We followed them directly to Ella's house. Maverick asked, do we take them down? Or just listen to conversations until we have a better plan? I growled, fuck that. We take them down. I want Fred and his 2 cronies alive. They have answers. I will extract them by any means necessary. Mav said, or we can have Luna dig through their thinking thoughts. I laughed. She's got you calling them that too. He nodded, grinning. As we stood outside, I realized they had been camping out in Ella's house for several days. I heard a woman's voice, high-pitched, whiny. There ain't nothing to eat here. Did you bring my whiskey? You promised me you would bring some home. I linked Maverick. Don't kill the woman. I have a feeling she's Ella's incubator. She definitely doesn't act like she's being held against her will. We stood 4 deep. At the back and front doors, I ordered on 3, and we kicked both doors in at the same time. We had the element of surprise, and they all scrambled for their weapons. All 5 of them were taken down and in custody before any weapons appeared. Maverick called the pack, ordering a transport, and before long, our prisoners were on their way to the cells. I ordered the doors replaced on Ella's house, and bars to be placed on her windows. Hopefully, we can avoid squatters from holing up there. I reached the house first, because Frost simply wanted to see his mate. Our mating is still new, so any time apart can be painful. She was sitting sideways in an armchair, sipping a whiskey, while Calvin was setting up a Jenga game. I hear her say, "Why don't you choose another game? I have already beat you 3 times. We went best 2 out of 3. Then you wanted best 3 out of 5. Let's play Uno." He groaned. "No, you hoard the draw 2s and 4s. Plus, you always seem to have the reverse cards too. I know you cheat. I just don't know how." She laughed. "Calvin, of course I cheat at Uno. I don't even have to read your thoughts. You have a terrible poker face. It gives you away. So I just hold my draw cards until the end. Simple, see?" I walked in, grinning. I lifted her up and sat down in the chair, draping her SXY body across my lap. I kissed her deeply and said, "I have a surprise for you." Her eyes lit up, asking what. I told her, "Your mother and Fred are in the cells. They had been camping out at your house." 0 to 60. In 0.02 seconds. She jumped up. "How much damage did they cause? How filthy is my house? Does it stink like them? I have to go check. I need to see for myself." I pulled her back into my lap, allowing my calming aura to fill the room. I whispered, "We can check the house out tomorrow. I have to replace the doors. I have ordered all the windows to have burglar-proof bars, and we are installing security cameras." She nodded, then started giggling. I looked down with a question in my eyes. She whispered, "Your calming aura put Calvin to sleep." I chuckled. Looking over at the snoring, drooling fool, I told her, "Apparently, I released enough to calm you, but too much for someone already calm." She cracked up. She said, "I love Calvin. I discovered that while he is highly intelligent and so incredibly tech-savvy, some common sense things elude him." I nodded and told her, "He's a genius. His IQ is 171. When we were younger, Maverick and I would have to keep an eye on him. He'd stop in the middle of the street just to work a binary code in his head. Half the time, he wouldn't remember to put pants on or tie his shoes. He still does that sometimes." She grinned. "Yep, I can see that." I stood, lifting her bridal style as I did. We passed Maverick coming in, letting us know the prisoners were locked down and separated. I nodded, thanking him. Then, as an afterthought, I said, "Hey, Maeve, Cal is asleep on the floor of the study. Make sure he makes it to bed." I explained my calming aura put him into a deep, relaxing sleep, so he wouldn't be easy to waken. If it is a problem, just put a pillow under his head and cover him up. I carried my bride to our room. Laying her on the bed, I began touching her, my lips following my hands. I whispered, "You're so incredibly beautiful, and all mine." I growled as I entered her, thrusting and pulsing. bringing us both to the pinnacle. I sank my canines into her mark, soaring us both over the edge until we collapsed together, gasping for air. I will never get enough of this feeling. Ella is everything the goddess promised in her doctrines. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought to myself, tomorrow we start getting answers.
Chapter 26, You Are My Calm. Alice POV.
Matthew and I showered and headed to breakfast. I told him, we aren't saving water when our showers take an hour, you know. He laughed. Baby, I'm just happy the hot water lasts that long, making me giggle. Calvin was already at the table, in a really good mood. I asked what had him so chipper this morning. He replied, I slept better than I have ever slept in my life last night, which is odd, considering I fell asleep on the floor in the study. I just kept smiling at him. He doesn't need to know Matthew caused it. That will be a little secret we will keep. Should we need it again? He asked. So, Luna, what are our plans today? Matthew responded, after we speak to the prisoners, you both will check Ella's house for damages. You will help clean any mess, as well as making sure her security cameras are up and running. Calvin groused, Damn, Luna. You have a cold or something? Your voice is really deep this morning. I cracked up laughing, while Matthew cuffed the back of his head. After breakfast, we headed to the cells. I was actually excited. I wanted to face the woman who gave birth to me. I wanted to know why she is the way she is. I probably won't get the answers I want, but I can still pick through her memories. I don't want to hate her, even though I know I will always resent her. Georgia had been put in an interrogation room, and Matthew and I went there directly. I grinned at her, chained to a chair. She immediately screeched, Why am I here? I am as much a victim as any other woman, and I resent being arrested. I kept smiling. You are guilty by association. How's that for a decent charge? Scoffing, she sneered, I should have drowned you at birth. My smile never wavering, I responded, but you didn't. And here we are. Tell me, Georgia, when Fred sold you to the hunters, how long did it take before you had them wrapped around your little finger? She said, You need to learn, girl. Men are stupid. The head on their shoulders is filled with air. The only brain they possess resides in the head of their dicks. That brain maintains their ego. Stroke that. Literally and figuratively. They will follow you anywhere. I said, You truly believe that. But everything else you believe is pure fallacy. Not one man here in our pack will have sex with you. You're too dirty. The scents of 100 men ooze from your pores. And my man, my mate, my husband wouldn't even entertain being in the same room as you if I wasn't with him. So get that shit out of your head. Well, she started to say she wasn't thinking anything of the sort, but I snapped, Shut the fuck up, Georgia. I was excited to interrogate you. I was looking forward to hearing what you know. But you don't know anything. They have been very careful to never let you have any information. All you did was whore yourself out so you didn't have to be locked up. She screamed, Bullshit. You know nothing of what I have suffered. I snarled, I know everything. Everything that ever resided in that little head of yours. If you sit quietly a minute, you would have felt me inside your mind. Your poor wolf, Sasha. How could you do that to her? She has receded so far into your soul, I doubt she would ever try to shift again. She only wants to die. Matthew asked, She has nothing of value to give us? I shook my head. As I felt my eyes begin to burn, my skin tingling, Matthew smiled and bowed his head. Hello, Mother Moon. She touched his cheek gently and smiled back at him. She then turned to Georgia. Sasha, come forth, my child. We watched as Georgia's eyes shifted. Do you wish freedom? To be reborn? I will find a worthy vessel for you. At her nod, we witnessed Sasha's wolf spirit exit Georgia's body and dissipate into mist. Georgia started screaming, and the goddess looked at her. "You are such a disappointment. You will not survive this night." Then she was gone. I shook my head to clear the remaining fog and stood. "Looks like I'm done here." Matthew walked me to the front, telling me he would be interrogating the others while I was in town. I smiled and said, "I figured you and Maverick would prefer to gather intel the old-fashioned way." He laughed and smacked my ass before kissing me. He told Calvin to not let me out of his sight. I rolled my eyes and Cal grinned. Then he kissed me again and said, "If beating the shit out of these assholes isn't enough to gather anything useful, you may need to read their minds." I smiled, walking away. "Let me know." Calvin and I rolled up into my driveway just as the workers had finished installing the bars on all my windows. As they set about installing the cameras Matthew wanted surrounding the house, I went inside. Holy pigsty, Batman. The sink was full of dirty dishes. The entire house reeked of sweaty, dirty bodies. A pair of socks on the living room floor were so stiff and filthy, it is beyond me how they didn't get up and walk away on their own to avoid the stench. I opened every window in the house, grabbed a mop bucket and the Lysol. Upstairs, I stripped the beds down, throwing the sheets outside. I wasn't even going to bother washing them. I scrubbed everything down with Lysol, wiping every surface with the disinfectant, praying it would kill anything left behind. I vacuumed my bedroom and remade the bed. I scrubbed the bathroom until it gleamed, making sure no sign of the violation of my home could be seen. I cleaned the guest bathroom next. Then the spare bedrooms. I didn't have extra bed linens to remake the beds, so a trip to Walmart would be in order. I worked my way downstairs into the living room. There was empty food containers and beer bottles all over. I cleaned those away and got fresh Lysol water. I started scrubbing every surface, never being more thankful for leather furniture in my life. As I started vacuuming, I moved the sofa back a few feet to clean underneath, only to discover a briefcase. Opening it, it was a veritable fount of information. A laptop, 3 cell phones, and 4 folders, with the women's names they had purchased, from where and whom, and the amounts they paid, maps, with specific markers on them. I called Calvin in, showing him what I had found. He immediately called Matthew to let him know we didn't need any of the prisoners alive, which turned out to be a good thing. Because, and I quote, "Oops, that's good, because Ray and Tommy didn't survive." I finished cleaning and felt satisfied the stink was gone. We closed the house up and headed back to the pack house. Matthew met me at the door of the truck and lifted me into his arms. He tucked his face into my neck, breathing me in. I asked, "Everything okay? Everyone good?" He nodded and responded, "You are my calm."
Chapter 27. It's a woman thing, I think. Matthew's POV.
We are on the 10th day. 10 days since Ella found all the information at her house. We had agreed to step up training and decided we were going to attack the Hunters' new base camp in 2 weeks. That plan was scrapped this morning. Damien showed up with news that 14 she-wolves have gone missing in the last 6 days. We had come across information on the laptop for something called Operation Roundup, but foolishly thought by arresting and killing some of Edgar's higher-ups would have slowed him down. That was a costly mistake. Now we are on a search and rescue mission. Mom and Lynette have set up a triage center 20 miles east of our territory. Ella hasn't been feeling well, but refused to stay with the medevac unit. Mom thinks Ella is pregnant, but she is adamant about not taking a test until we rescue the she-wolves. Dad and Damien have taken a team west, and mine and Ella's team are south. The map showed 2 primary locations that were secluded and difficult to reach with any stealth. Our only option is a full frontal attack. I'm okay with that. My only fear is Ella being pregnant. She assured me she would be safe and careful. We had just geared up, and all 150 of my men stood, awaiting orders. Ella stepped forward, and her eyes glowed brighter than I had ever seen, so I knew the goddess was coming forward. My children, know you will prevail this day. You fight with my might. You fight for right. Rescue my daughters. Make me proud. Every single soldier dropped to their knee and crossed their chests with a fist. Ella raised her hands and grinned at all of them. Freaky as fuck, right? I know. I live with it. Making them all chuckle. We worked our way through the woods to a large compound. 5 buildings in total. We climbed into the trees to watch their defenses. We have no idea how many we would encounter. We know Edgar has over 300 humans working with him, and at least 150 rogues. We also know he doesn't keep them all in one area. His 2 main camps were supposedly only housing a third of his manpower in total. After an hour, I had solidified a plan. There were about 70 men around the compound. To the back of the property, a long, narrow building was padlocked. No windows. I believe if the women are here, they would be in that building. Ella, with Calvin and his Luna team of 6, would make their way to that building. She smirked at me, saying, "Think you're slick, don't ya? Well, newsflash, my hero. Once we have cleared that building, I will be joining the fight." I grimaced. Knowing I was going to hear about it later, she doesn't have to read my mind to know my mind. I have a feeling I miscalculated my mates need to be protected. We took off in the direction of the camp. Maverick and I were in the lead, charging directly into the center. Frost roared out our arrival. Men ran from the buildings, all in various states of undress, causing a distinct feeling of discomfort to lodge in my chest. We didn't hesitate. We launched into attack, severing arms that held weapons, tearing out throats. I was on a mission to find Edgar. I didn't slow up, just dropped anyone in my path. 20 minutes later, not one hunter survived. Ella walked over to me. Cal and I cleared all the buildings. We found 21 women. At first questioning, it seems none of them are the recent abductees. I looked over the women. Not one of them remained unscathed. 3 were pregnant. They were all filthy, bruised. Some had bloody wounds. I turned to Maverick. Get them to Mom and Aunt Lynette. These women need treatment immediately. Ella, do you want to stay with me or go with the women? She grinned. Oh, I'm staying, Studley. Maverick busted out laughing, and I looked at Ella. I chuckled. That's one babelicious, making Mav laugh harder. We walked through each building. The filthy conditions. Goddess only knows the bacteria and germs these people were exposed to. Ella said, I gotta admit, I'm pretty fucking skeeved out in here. Been scratching my head since the first building like I have a lice infestation. Or fleas. Oh my goddess, Matthew. Can werewolves get fleas? A Balloon won't like having fleas, Matthew. Do we have to wear a flea collar if it happens? Is there a book of werewolf ordinances or something? I don't want to wear a flea collar, Matthew. I busted out laughing. The places your beautiful brain takes you. My love, we don't get fleas. Our blood tastes like human blood to fleas. Humans can't sustain a thriving environment for fleas to survive. She sighed. Oh, thank the goddess. And I laughed again. She is too adorable. She wandered off, searching through the trash and debris, mumbling under her breath about reading every wolf book we own. We had cleared all the buildings, and while the one that was padlocked had been empty at the time, it definitely wasn't always that way. Chains hung from the walls, pallets on the floor, a 5-gallon bucket as a toilet. At the very back was a gambrel and hoist to hang them from for whipping. Essentially, a torture chamber. We confiscated a couple laptops, several filing cabinets, lots of information, but no sign whatsoever of Edgar. No sign of him, at all, ever being here. We wrapped it up and headed to the triage camp. We took our time, and I asked how she felt about maybe being pregnant. She replied, "Oh, there's no maybe. We're pregnant. Abalan confirmed it this morning. As to how I feel about it, I'm happy. It is the goddess will, and who are we but to serve her?" I chuckled. Well, technically, you are of both. The goddess's will and the hands of fate. So you can feel any way you want. But for the record, I am over the moon happy. She squealed and threw herself into my arms at such speed we both toppled over. Landing right at Mom's feet, she stood above us, hands on her hips, an eyebrow cocked up to her hairline, and I, in my infinite wisdom, grinned widely and said, "We're pregnant." And she squealed, louder than Ella had. It's a woman thing, I think.
Chapter 28. Frost is a butthead. Ella's POV.
Dad and Damien encountered the same situation we had. Only half the women. All of the 16 she-wolves recently abducted were still unaccounted for. Calvin is combing the laptops and cell phones we have confiscated for any kind of information where they might be. We have worked diligently to get all the women we had rescued back to their families, or packs, except the 3 pregnant women. They chose to stay with us because of the stigma of having a hybrid. Some packs still frowned on it. We went to see Doc and are exactly 10 weeks pregnant. In 2 weeks, we will know the gender. Matthew is excited. He wants a boy or a girl, which made me laugh. Calvin alerts us that he's uncovered some pertinent information in regards to Edgar. So we all head to the conference room. Damien has stayed with us because he wants those women rescued. Once everyone is seated, Calvin turned on the television. I found him. I sent trackers to check out an old commune. About 40 miles from here, there's cabins, yurts, a couple cottages, but more importantly, there is a root cellar. The trackers have observed women being dragged to and from there, and always dragged to this central cabin. Here, these 2 buildings house the warriors. This cabin has all Edgar's so-called officers. A tracker informed me Edgar has ordered all his men to not touch the women until he is through. He reserves the privilege of breaking them in, which he does, as often as possible, until the woman no longer fights back. Then he gives them to the men. The tracker also asked you not question him how he obtained his intel. He did say he only had time for a shallow grave. Matthew snickered, then said, "Ready our troops. We go in with no less than 300 this time. I want this shit over with. And I want that bastard's head mounted on a spike." We all geared up and got ready to go. I agreed to stay back with Mom and Lynette. Matthew had enough to worry about, and Abalan won't shift now. Dad and Damien took half the men, fanning out in a semicircle on the north, while Matthew and Maverick took their team in a semicircle to the south, completely surrounding the camp. When I heard Frost's battle roar, I knew they had breached the perimeter. I climbed a tree to see if I could see any of our pack members. I could hear the sounds of battle in the distance, and gunfire. I nearly fell from the tree when I felt the impact. Matthew had been hit. I gasped for breath and fought with myself to not go to him. But I promised, for the sake of our baby. I was climbing down from the tree when I heard, "I'm so sorry, baby." I know you felt it. It was strange, though. Frost took a solid silver round to the chest, and our body just popped the bullet back out and healed me. Our mate bond is definitely a special one, my love. I asked if everyone was okay. and was told we took some injuries, and they would be arriving soon. I paced the wood line, watching for our people. When I spotted them, I ran to help the injured into triage. Mom and Lynette strictly adhere to triage healing. They are firm believers in allowing a wolf's natural healing kick in. I spotted Maverick before I saw Matthew. I ran to them both and Matthew pulled me into him. Dad and Uncle Damien have Edgar. We literally caught him with his pants down. He's screaming for a lawyer. Like any of his constitutional rights matter here. It took several hours to get the poor women all seen and taken care of. I had had the foresight to have brought a barrel of water and some clean sweats so they could wash up and feel better. Damien was already speaking on a conference call with the alphas of the packs the women belonged to. One of them turned out to be Calvin's mate. Her name is Peaches. No, really? Peaches. She's a tiny little thing with strawberry blonde hair. Cal hasn't turned her loose, and Peaches hasn't stopped crying. When we arrived back at the pack house, the Omegas had started preparing a victory celebration. I jumped in and started helping, and Mom made dessert. She called it lava cake souffle, and it was the meltiest, gooeyest, chocolatiest concoction ever. Matthew made me stop eating it after the third one, but I made her promise to make it for me once a week, at least until the baby comes. Because, and I tried explaining it to Matthew, the baby really, really likes chocolate. The days that followed were spent getting all the women home. The rogues and hunters that survived scattered to goddess knows where. There was a discussion about tracking them down, but Matthew felt it was a waste of resources, that we were better off fortifying our territory and always being prepared. Damien decided to execute Edgar for his crimes against the women. It was to be a public beheading, so our carpenters built a platform high enough the whole pack could see. It was scheduled for the day after our ultrasound. We wanted a gender reveal, and I didn't want it on a day we executed someone. Matthew had sent Maverick out on a 2-week hiatus to travel packs, looking for his mate. He was feeling left out, now that Calvin had Peaches. I love her to death. She's starting to come back from her trauma, but she still has a long way to go. Calvin is so kind, so patient, they still haven't made it. Although she did let him mark her, she is in therapy and making progress. Matthew and I decided on names, Blaine for a boy and Blair for a girl. He told me Frost said we are having a boy, and I whined that wasn't fair. I don't want the surprise spoiled. Frost is a butthead.
Epilogue. Matthew's POV.
We discovered our pup is, in fact, a little boy. I am over the moon. Our heir will be here soon, and we have been scrambling to get everything ready. Ella had refused, flat out, to do anything with the nursery until we knew the gender. Now she's become a slave driver and wants everything done yesterday. Maverick is returning today with his mate, and my mate has been bouncing off the walls in excitement. We also discovered, when Peaches came out of her shell, is quite excitable as well. Ella calls her Butterfly. If you ask her why, she will tell you it's because Peaches was locked in a cocoon by the hunters, and now she is broken free, leaving behind a beautiful, ethereal butterfly. We all know that's not it. Ella can wrap it up with a pretty bow, but she calls her Butterfly because she flits from sofa to chair to floor, never sitting still for more than 2 minutes. Entirely too much energy. I will even admit to using my calming powers on her, like I do Calvin. The pair of them are exhausting. We are standing on the front steps, awaiting Maverick's arrival. Then we have to prepare for Edgar's execution. I will be relieved to see him die. The man hasn't shut up in the entire 3 weeks he has been in the cells. We watch as Maverick parks his truck. He stepped around to the passenger side and helped a woman out. She was taller than Ella by several inches. with dark eyes and light brown curly hair. They met us at the porch and Maverick said, "Alpha Matthew, Luna Ella, allow me to introduce my mate Charlene." I held my hand out to her, welcoming her to the pack, while my Luna squealed, hugged her, bouncing up and down the entire time. I cracked up and told Charlene, "I honestly don't think there is a better welcome to our pack than being tackled by a highly excited Luna." Charlene laughed, and here I was worried about being accepted. 2 hours after lunch, everyone was gathered in the backyard. Edgar had been led up to the platform, and I walked him over to Uncle Damien. I stood to the right, behind the king, my father to his left. Damien addressed TGE crowd. "This man abducted and paid to have abducted our she-wolves in order to impregnate them. His blatant disregard of our sacred mate bond alone is reason enough to execute him. He personally raped and beat every woman he had in his custody. That definitely warrants death. This vermin will be put down. Today, any last words, Edgar, before you slam into the gates of hell?" Edgar started laughing loudly. "Killing me won't stop the movement. Executing me won't prevent the hunters from their vengeance. My son will avenge me. He is but a boy now, but he is being raised in the ways of the righteous. He is being taught who he has to kill. He will know who is responsible for the death of his parents and will seek retribution. Be aware, Lunanae, he will come for you." Damien snapped his head from his neck, and I leaped to the ground, pulling Ella close to me, holding her tight. She asked, "Does he have a son? What information do we have in him?" I told her, "We are still processing everything we confiscated. There weren't any reports of children being at any of the camps, and there should have been. We need to go through all the reports the women drafted for us." She snarled, "He raped every one of them. For all we know, he could have 20 kids out there somewhere." Maverick said, "He said the boy would know who is responsible for the death of his parents. Parents, plural. We didn't kill any women. We don't do that." Calvin responded, "Well, technically, we kind of did. One woman died in our custody." I growled, "What? Who? And where the fuck was I?" He spoke lowly, "Ella's mother. The goddess took her wolf and she died." Ella looked at me, eyes wide. No way. I could have a brother out there. He's a child, just a child, and he's being brainwashed to hate his own kind." I looked at my inner circle. We start looking for any information we can find. If there is a compound of children being groomed as hunters, we need to locate them. Ella said, "It's actually something my mother would do. If it would save her life, she'd spit out a kid a year, as long as she didn't have to raise them. The search for Ella's brother has begun."
The end.